the October 3rd, 2022 board meeting. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Clayton.
Here.
Councilman Creedy.
Here.
Councilman D'Esposito.
I'm here.
Councilman Dunn.
Here.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby. Here. Councilwoman Miller. Here. Councilman Muscarella.
Here. And now I'm going to ask Councilwoman Miller to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Place your hand over your heart. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start the public hearings, let the record reflect that the Town Clerk Murray is distributing the tentative budget for the fiscal year 2023 to myself and all the board members. Just so anybody knows, this budget reflects a tax freeze for the residents throughout the town of Hempstead. And then working with the entire board and the feedback and all the commissioners and all the departments, we're able to present this tax freeze budget, especially at a time with record inflation and gas prices up. So I appreciate everybody working together for the betterment of all the town residents. With that, thank you very much, Kate.
Oh, please.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the first public hearing?
Yes, we have a proposed local law regarding regulations and restrictions for limit parking in Belrose Terrace, near Island Park and near Valley Street.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, I do not have any slips. Any member of the public that did not sign in wishes to be heard on item number 1? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby. Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in Belrose Terrace, Elmont, near Island Park, and Oceanside.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard? Okay, I do not have any slips. Anybody did not sign in that wishes to be heard on item number 2? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Hold on. Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby. Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding arterial stops in Belmore and North Baldwin.
Any member of the board wish to be heard on this? I do not have any slips. Anybody wish to be heard on this item that did not sign in? Item number 3? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby. Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding vehicles speed limits in Oceanside on Alice Avenue.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard on this? I do not have any slips on this item. Does anybody wish to be heard on item number 4 that did not sign in? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the local law adopted.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby. Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have handicap parking on public streets in Belrose Terrace, Elmont, near Island Park, Oceanside, and Uniondale.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard? Okay, I do not have any slips. Any member of the public that did not sign in wishes to be heard on this item? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby. Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed increase and improvement of the Town of Hempstead Refuse Disposal District.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, I do have a slip on this. I have Bonnie Durone. Morning, Ms. Durone. If you give me your name and address for the record.
Good morning, Bonnie Barone, Rockville Center. As I understand it, this is a proposal by the Department of Sanitation for certain improvements consisting of the purchase of equipment, and this is a hearing so that people can voice their opinion on that. But what exactly is the equipment?
Okay, let me get a representative either from the controller's office or the sanitary department. Our controller.
National Marine Town Controller. This is a preliminary before the hearing notice. So there will be a public hearing with all the details. We're still gathering all the information from bond counsel. So this is not a hearing right now. It's just a notice that a hearing is coming.
Well, it's called a public hearing, so
Right.
I'm a little confused.
The details will be at the public hearing.
Well, you know that the cost is $550,000, so how is that determined? I mean, what is it that you're looking to
I
buy?
think the controller just said this is just calling for a hearing where we're going to have a formal hearing where they can have a presentation being made. Is that correct, Chuck?
That is correct.
Okay, so there'll be another hearing date. We'll be able to provide all the answers. This is just calling for the hearing.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. Can you just tell me what the purpose of this being on the calendar today is?
It's to call for a hearing.
It's a legal requirement. It's not anything that we decided to do. It's in the law. We have to have this first and then a public hearing on the actual details of it.
So this is to tell people that sometime in the future, there will be a hearing on something that's not specified today.
At the hearing, there will be all the details. I've said that twice.
Mr. Rowan, if you look at the resolution, the end of the resolution specifically says that a public hearing will be called in the future, doesn't give a date, in which there will be discussions with regard to the $550,000.
Okay, so I'm honestly not trying to be difficult. I don't understand.
I don't think any of us think that way. I think this is a legal hurdle they have to comply with, and then when they're ready for the actual hearing, we will have that. And you can ask questions, but this is a legal hurdle to get to that level.
Okay, so can you just, is it possible for you to tell me the statutory provision that requires this?
I'll have the town attorney follow up with you if you'd like.
Yeah, you can't give it to me now? Other people might be interested.
Well, I think really, as he said, it's a legal requirement. I don't think he probably has a citation of it. We'll be happy to follow up with it on it. But like I said, we're not doing the actual hearing on it. We've let everybody know, and it says it in the resolution. So I'll have him follow up. We'd be delighted to. But I said it's not the hearing on it, so we don't want to get off track on confusing people.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else that didn't sign in wishes to be heard on this item? If not, may I please have a motion on item number 6?
Supervisor, I move that the hearing be closed, the item adopted.
Second motion. Supervisor Clayman.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Tuski. Councilwoman Miller. Councilman Mascarello.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed increase and improvement of the town of Hempstead street lighting district.
All right. Any member of the board wish to be heard? Okay, I do have one person cited, Bonnie Graham. John, this is basically the same. Just so you know, as a preempt there, it is, again, a legal hurdle that they had to require for this one, and probably number 8, John, am I correct about that?
Right.
And this isn't anything new, we've been doing this for a while this way, is that correct? It is. Again, it's to notice people that there will be a hearing forthcoming on it, and of course, that hearing will be noted on any calendar that it's ever listed on.
Okay, let me just ask if you can you tell us what the proposed district upgrades are for the street light district of the traffic control division of the Department of General Services in the amount of about $1 million? Can you tell us today what those are?
They can't because they're not prepared for that hearing. They don't have all the specifics with them. Again, this is just to notice that a legal requirement that they have to give a hearing. And again, at that hearing, they'll have them and be able to answer those questions for you.
So I'm just jumping ahead, I assume it'll be the same answer for number 8?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I appreciate it. And like I said, when you'll see it on the calendar, we appreciate that. Any other questions? Anybody not sign in for this item? If not, may I please have a motion?
Move that the public hearing be closed, the item adopted.
Supervisor Clayman.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Tuski. Councilwoman Miller. Councilman Mascarello.
Aye.
Clerk, please go to the next item.
We have a proposed increase and improvement of the town of Hempstead Park District.
Any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, if not, it's Ron, I know you signed in again and again. It's the similar answer for the other one. Are you okay? Or? Yep. We're good. Okay, I do not have, I number 8.
Supervisor, I move that the hearing be closed, the item adopted.
Supervisor Clayton?
Aye.
Councilman Carini?
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Padrino?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby?
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller?
Aye.
Councilman Mascarolo?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please go to the next public hearing.
We have the application of Front Street Mufflers, Tires, and Auto Repair Incorporated for a special exception change of use from a gasoline station to an auto repair public garage and to maintain the current use as an auto repair located in Unionville.
Sir, I think I recognize you. If you give your name and address for the record.
Ike Sampson, Sir Tillman, Ballard, Adler, and Hyman, 90 Merrick Avenue, East Meadow, New York. For the applicant, this is the application of Front Street Muffler for a special exception. The service station has been there since the 1950s. It was originally built by Chevron as a gas station and 2 service bays. The gas tanks were removed in the 70s, and it has continued to operate as a service station as they would like to continue to do so now. We have a number of letters by our neighbors in support of the application. If I could hand them up, including one from the woman across the street, Janet Weeks, who's also the president of the Kiwanis Club, and she wrote a very nice personal message to the board, which was nice of her.
That's great. We will take that, and that will be made part of the record.
And if there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
It's nice to see you, Mrs. Absent.
Thank you.
I know we might have 1 or 2 questions from the board. I see there's a resident who came in to either ask a question or make a comment. So why don't we see what the resident has to say before we take any questions of the board. Fair enough? Okay. So I'm going to start with Ms. Escobar. Hi, how you doing? If you come to the back,
I'm sorry, Mr. Clayton. Ms. Escobar and Ms. Black are with me, and they're not looking to speak, but they were here to answer any questions that might have come up.
Fantastic. That makes it a little bit easier. Welcome to Town Hall, both of you. Nice to see you. Well, with that, I'll see if any of the board members have any questions.
Excuse me. I have so many questions, and I wish would you like to see these photos that I have?
I think I have them, and excuse me, I have some new photos as well,
We can look at it.
if I can. The applicant is the tenant of the premises.
No, I don't need that. Okay.
Yep. You know what?
You have those photos?
I did, and I have more current. I can just do it.
You can just look at them because I want them back so we can discuss those. Oh, good. That's not too bad. Let's see if you can see the video on the screen. It's really bad.
Yes.
You have those?
Oh, I'm sorry. There are more. If you wanted them back, there are more than here.
Yeah, I want them back.
And I have more current photos for the town board. The service center was cleaned up. It was, all the vehicles that shouldn't have been there were removed. The applicant is looking to actually invest in the property. She's the tenant. She's not the owner. We want to put up new fencing. We want to pave the front of the, pave the entire paved area of the service station. But of course, she's hesitant to do it without approvals so that she knows she'll be able to stay there as a tenant.
Mr. Jackson, I see a couple of photos, and I know you were given ones by the town which showed it stacking of tires and fencing and garbage. particularly along the red fence with the yellow house, and it seems like part of that was rectified. Is that an accurate description of that?
Yeah, I'd say it was substantially rectified. Of course, the business on it, I have more pictures too if there's one specific side.
You'll have to make the representation. The deputy supervisor gave me the photo. I know it was submitted to you, but I can see the Front Street sign right there at the corner, and that's where the garbage was stacked up and piled. Was that rectified as well?
Yes.
Okay. That's that one. And again,
When was this done?
yeah.
When were the pictures taken, or when was it?
No, I pictured your pictures.
We don't even know what day you took the pictures?
Wednesday.
What was past Wednesday?
Yeah, like I said, I see a couple of, it definitely some cleanup. I see there was one, it looks like a portable lift, a temporary lift that was on the cement block. Is that fair to say that has been removed? The exterior one, that's this one here. That matches.
What about all those?
There is an exterior lift still there.
Nope. No,
Amelia, can you come up here, please?
I'm just scared of this because it seems so bad. I don't know. We just took these recently, and I want to make sure that everything is done as it should be. I don't know how the neighbors stayed there all this time with all of this stuff.
Ms. Escobar, if you just give your name and address for the record, just so we have it.
Hello, my name is Amelia Evelyn, 1201 Front Street, Greendale.
Okay. Yeah, no, I know that they submitted pictures that the tires that were on the fencing have been removed. There's definitely been a cleanup of the perimeter of the premises. There was one photo we had of a hydraulic lift outside that it was blue. Is that still outside, or has that been removed?
It's been removed.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the one was removed. There's something that's orange. I just handed a picture that's cleaned and actually there.
That's the other one. Okay.
Right, that blue one's removed.
That's, right, the orange one is a permanent, the blue one is a temporary. Okay. I think the biggest concern is, the cleanliness around the perimeter for the residents. We want to make sure that it's going to be maintained the way it is now. That the neighbors, they're living next to it, and that's great that you got submission from the individual across the street. But our concern is that, we want to make sure that nothing's piled up against those fences, that lift isn't brought back outside. Can we get those assurances from you?
Yes.
Okay.
Will you replace the fence as well?
Yes.
Yeah. That's it for that.
But like I said, that's what it comes down to, just the assurances, and we will ask our building department to go out there and inspect it. So like I said, we didn't want any surprises. We just want to have good neighbors in the area. We appreciate the fact that you've been a great neighbor and tenant for so long, but a couple people said, hey, can we do that? And it's great that you're willing to make those commitments to us.
And they have recently entered into a maintenance agreement with someone to provide regular maintenance and cleaning as well.
Okay.
That'll be done as well. If I could just broach one more thing, I don't know if it came up. I was asked about what fencing that they might or might not want to put up around the premises. Actually, the town put a restrictive covenant on the property in the 50s for fencing, which they've substantially been complying with. Of course, if they want a new type of fencing, that would be fine too. Their only concern was with the gates. They want to make sure they'll be able to open and close the gates.
And I think the deputy supervisor's photo indicated, the one we had, that the gate seemed to be broken. So if you can assure us that that will also be repaired, that was the one we had. It was a broken gate. It looked like the plastic and the brown gate looked okay, but it was the one that seemed to open and close seemed to be the one in disrepair. Can you assure us that'll be rectified?
Yes, that'll be rectified. The only real question is the board satisfied with these fences and gates, and will Fiscal ever maintain them, or there is a question that you might want us to change them, in which case, rather than fixing these and changing them, they would just change them.
I think we should change them because first of all, I don't think the neighbors want to look through whatever you're doing over there. We need to have something that looks good because I don't understand how they stayed there this long with all of this junk that you have, all the tires and everything. I really don't see it. So it has to be done, redone. It has to look good.
Right, so the question was, Gooseby, is do you prefer to see a PVC fencing or the chain link?
I would prefer the PVC.
Okay, so we'll put that around the exterior with our neighbors. I guess the inside by the gates might be a little different, but certainly around, right. Well, okay, very, very likely.
Any other questions of the board? Okay. I don't have any other slips. Does anybody wish to be heard that did not sign in this item? Then I guess at this point I'll say, with Mr. Zapso, we appreciate the presentation of your client. We're appreciative of your indication of maintaining it now in the condition that it now is in. But is there a motion?
Okay. We'll move that we reserve this, reserve the motion for now. I'm sorry, Madam President. I move that we reserve the decision.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, give a second on that.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton?
Aye.
Councilman Greenie?
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby? Councilwoman Miller? Councilman Muscarelli?
Before we call, we're going to call item number 10, which is going to be setting up. I'm just going to take a 3-minute recess with the town board. Excuse me.
Check.
Like you normally would talk.
Are we still? Is good? Check. You can hear me pretty good over there, Jim?
Too loud.
Could be, right?
Yeah.
All right.
That's illegal because they can't have private deliberation.
Check.
What? You know that.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have the application of Baldwin Jazz LLC, care of Breslin Realty, Development Corporation in the Baldwin Mixed-Use Zoning Overlay District of the Building Zoning Ordinance.
All right, good morning. If you identify yourself, Counselor.
Good morning, Mr. Supervisor and members of the Town Board. On behalf of the applicant, Baldwin Jazz LLC, in care of the Breslin Organization, Elisabetta Kashignano, with the law firm of Son, Ward, Graff, Koblenz, 333 Earl Ovington Boulevard, Suite 601, Uniondale, New York. With me today are David Orwasher, Chief Development Officer of Breslin Realty Organization and Baldwin Jazz LLC, along with Robert Rosenberg and Justin Breslin, also of Breslin Realty Organization. Walter Sieber, Director of Site Development at Cameron Engineering. Jack Raker, Architect with Minnow Wasco. Dave Tepper, Planning Manager at Cameron Engineering. Rebecca Goldberg, Secret Traffic and Parking Engineer with Cameron. And Barry Nelson, Real Estate Expert. Prior to beginning my formal presentation, our entire team would like to express thanks to the Town Board, its staff, the Design Review Board, its staff, the Building Department, and really all the town departments related in one way or another for the level of attention and cooperation, not just to this project, but also to the entire Baldwin downtown area. We know that Baldwin community has been waiting many years for a revitalization of its downtown, and the town of Hempstead has played an integral role in developing an overlay district to capture the needs of this community. So thank you on our behalf and on behalf of my whole team. The subject property is a 1.acre site located at the southeast corner of Sunrise Highway and Grand Avenue, with addresses at 2253 Grand, 736, 746, and 753 Sunrise Highway in Baldwin, New York. The site comprises the following parcels on the Nassau County Landed Tax Map: Section 54, Block 101, Block 26, 30, 33, 35, 38, 39, 41, 42, and 129. The premises have frontage on 3 different public rights-of-way, to wit 71.57 feet of frontage along Grand Avenue, 277.69 feet of frontage on Sunrise Highway, 282.5 feet on Harrison, and 58.9 feet on a separate lot on Harrison. The premises are generally bounded by Sunrise Highway and the Baldwin-Long Island Railroad train station to the north, Harrison Avenue and commercial businesses to the east, Mount Sinai South Nassau Communities offices and surface parking to the south, and Grand Avenue with commercial businesses and the United States Post Office to the west. The site is the former location of a car storage and parking facility. The applicant makes this application as contract vendee and with the consent of the owner and seller of these parcels. The background purpose and legislative intent of the BMX district is to promote the economic health and vibrancy of this commercial corridor consisting of and centered along Grand Avenue and the Baldwin-Long Island Railroad Station. As stated in the code, Baldwin Community envisions a downtown that is vibrant, pedestrian-friendly, with an active, compact, multimodal LIRR station area at the center of the hamlet. The vision also incorporates a mix of land uses and innovative green infrastructure, components to create a place where residents, commuters, and visitors can shop, dine, and recreate. We believe that our project fits within this vision, and via the testimony of our experts, the town will be able to see that the vision of the Breslin organization is consistent with the town's vision. By way of history, as this board knows, in 2017, Baldwin Downtown and Commercial Resiliency Study was published, and the study recommended the creation of a new overlay district along this very corridor, which would encourage development of a walkable, compact, transit-oriented downtown benefited by a mix of residential, retail, and commercial uses, supported by enhanced transportation and infrastructure improvements. The Town of Hempstead Town Board then enacted the BMX district in response to the Baldwin community needs and the recommendation of the DCCR. So the primary goal of this district is to facilitate private investment, public benefits, and economic development within the downtown Baldwin. The new overlay district seeks to leverage the area's proximity to public transportation by promoting mixed-use, transit-oriented development around the Long Island Railroad to meet increasing demands for housing and retail, drive foot traffic, implement transportation and infrastructure improvements necessary to accommodate future growth, and enhance the visual quality and pedestrian amenities through the implementation of the design guidelines. The Breslin organization is excited to propose this project to the town as we believe and submit that it meets and exceeds legislative purpose, intent, and goals that the BMX district seeks to achieve. The project, which will be named the Grand of Baldwin, is a mixed-use, transit-oriented development that will secure the vibrancy, economic development, and housing needs necessary for this vital area of the commercial corridor of Baldwin, and which site is located directly across the street from the Baldwin-Long Island Railroad. It plays a key role in the redevelopment of the selected Baldwin area by virtue of its prime location and visual prominence. It will promote walkability, additional residents to shop and dine in the area, and will provide a multitude of jobs for local businesses that will flourish due to the influx of these new residents. The project contemplates 215 residential rental units, 10% of which are set aside for workforce housing. It also provides approximately 5,000 square feet of ground floor restaurant and retail space, each of which will front on Sunrise Highway and Grand Avenue respectively. The project also includes approximately 3,600 square feet of private public park and public plaza. And the retail and public park spaces are for use by the residents of the building and the public in general. To further improve the overall aesthetics of the corridor and facilitate pedestrian flow and public benefit, the applicant is proposing to increase building setbacks along Sunrise Highway, Grand Avenue, and Harrison Avenue, and also to cover the cost of removal of the all overhead utility wires along Harrison and Sunrise, which will be relocated below grade. Those power lines will be below grade. The applicant will introduce robust green landscaping elements and decorative pavement throughout where none exist now. It should also be noted that all parking within the building will be either below grade or grade level and not visible from the street. The garage will have the same facade as the entire building. This is an example of the intricate details that are contemplated in this Breslin development. The site plan engineer and architect will discuss all of these details in much more detail, but I wanted to briefly touch on them to provide the board with a general overview of what has been woven into the project. With respect to the zoning requirements, the project falls within BMX transit-oriented development section of the overlay. To that end, multifamily dwellings and mixed uses, such as this one, are specifically permitted under the code provisions. And when we say mixed use, we mean residential along with retail, those types of uses that are mixed. Pursuant to section 429A, the maximum floor area ratio permitted with the granting of a development bonus is 2.0. Without the benefit of a development bonus, the maximum permitted floor area ratio is 1.5. Our project falls at 1.91 with 149,817 square feet of floor area. Were the town to grant Baldwin Jazz a development bonus in accordance with the code's provisions, our project falls well within the bonus. Pursuant to section 430, the parking requirement permitted with the granting of an adjustment as per section 431.1D of the code equals 221 parking spaces. Our project currently provides 284 parking spaces, which is sufficient without a parking adjustment. However, we are requesting the benefit of an adjustment, as we recently learned in discussions with the various utility companies that in order to remove and relocate all the utility poles below grade, they will require an easement over our property in order to place electrical equipment below grade bolts. Accordingly, it appears we may lose approximately 23 parking spaces. Were the town to grant the applicant the parking adjustment, we would be well over the parking minimum at approximately 260 spaces. Reminding the board that we are 215 units and all units are studios 1 and 2s. And our parking engineer will speak to the parking that will satisfy this transit-oriented development project. The applicant is also requesting several variances related to density and setbacks. As for the setbacks, the primary purpose in proposing the setbacks from the lot line are to provide greater public and pedestrian access to the sidewalks, the private public park, the public plaza, and the main entrance to the Grand via Harrison Avenue. Any car traffic movement will only be on Harrison in and out of the building. There will not be any vehicles permitted to enter through Grand or Sunrise. The following setback variances are requested: 14.5 feet from the lot line on Grand, where a maximum of 10 is permitted, and 14.9 feet from the property line on Harrison, where 10 is permitted. Finally, in relation to density, we are proposing a density of 215 units, where 108 are the maximum permitted per the code. The proposed project is the definition of a mixed-use transit-oriented project, steps away from the train station. A prime location for the commuter residents, a project developed at this key location requires this density to be feasible. The developer is proposing a project that meets each and every code objective and intent that will have a tremendous financial, social, and cultural impact on the community and will begin to resolve a major housing shortage in the area. Further, it should be noted that the draft environmental impact statement contemplated a total of 1,162 new units of development in this area, and this project at this prime location represents only a small portion of that density which was identified in the BGEIS. Will not interfere with the development of further projects. It will eliminate a source of blight and contamination. The town, the hamlet of Baldwin, and its residents will benefit greatly with the cleanup and redevelopment of the site, along with the proposed parks and amenities provided that will all be maintained by the developer at its own cost. The project will not burden the town's resources, but only add a direct benefit to the town and the hamlet of Baldwin. The town, pursuant to its authority via the BMX code, is able to grant certain zoning incentives and variances as it deems necessary for the benefit of the community and consistent with the code's purposes. In doing so, it can grant a floor area ratio development bonus, a parking adjustment, and those variances as noted earlier. With respect to the other bulk zoning requirements, the project complies with the code's height requirement as the building is 68.12 feet in height, where the maximum height permitted is 75 feet. It complies with the maximum building coverage, rear yard setback, side yard setback, and minimum building setback from 45 feet in height and above. Per the code provisions, the applicant has presented their project to the Design Review Board. During said presentation, the applicant described in detail the architectural design and amenities provided, and the applicant further sent detailed information satisfying all the criteria in the code, which the Design Review Board must consider when referring the matter to the board. The Design Review Board referred the matter to the town board and found that considering, among other things, the public-private park, the public plaza, the design improvements to increase pedestrian access, the placing of utility wires below grade, that the applicant has demonstrated a commitment to the principles of the BMX code. The Design Review Board complies with the BMX design guidelines, and a copy of this letter is currently part of the record. Our site engineer will describe in detail the provisions of the public-private park and plaza being provided, the provisions of increased setbacks for pedestrian walkability, and the proposal to relocate those utility lines below grade. These are all community benefits that will serve to increase pedestrian walkability, provide the community with access to a serene and beautiful safe space in the area directly across from the Baldwin train. Pursuant to the code, the town must review the matter to outside consultants for CEQA review, which has been completed. A letter of compliance with no further CEQA has been issued. Walter Sieber again will touch on all those items regarding sewer and water availability, fire protection services, electrical and gas, and our application with the Nassau County Fire Marshal. The applicant and its representatives has met with the local Baldwin Fire Department chiefs, who have issued a letter of no objection to the project. We'll hand that in for the board. We will, of course, continue to work with Nassau County Fire Marshal and the Baldwin Fire Department regarding the development of the project. I'd like to also note for the board, and we have these to submit today, we have received over 600 online and written signatures in support of the project. We've received letters in support from the President of the Chamber of Commerce and the Baldwin Civics. The Breslin organization has approximately had 5 town hall meetings regarding the project with the local chamber and the local civics, and will continue to keep the community involved throughout the various stages of development. Further, we have applied to the Town of Hempstead Industrial Development Agency for a pilot and certain tax benefits. However, for the record, the taxing jurisdictions will not lose any dollars, as we have requested no diminution of current taxes. They will pay the current tax rates, albeit frozen for 3 years during the build, and then they will rise significantly throughout the pilot term. The costs to build this development are estimated to exceed $100 million. The developer has taken every design detail and amenity into account, knowing that this project will be the catalyst that brings the much-needed change to Baldwin. A feasibility study was conducted by our consultant at Nelson Pope and the town's independent consultant, Camoin. Both studies show a positive cash benefit to the town, and although we estimate approximately 200 construction jobs, the independent experts expect approximately 350 jobs during the construction phase, over $31 million in earnings during the construction phase, and over $65 million in new spending, and an additional $20 million in indirect and induced spending, for a total of $86 million during that 3-year time period. This positive economic impact to the town in just 3 short years will be the dramatic change that's needed in the Baldwin area. Once construction is completed, the reports reveal that there will be a total of 178 net new households, which will spend approximately $4.6 million each year, and the total economic impact to the town will be $6.7 million. There will be approximately 13 on-site employment positions, which will yield $750,000 in earnings yearly, and $2.4 million in indirect and direct sales. And the total economic impact to the town will be an additional $3 million in earnings and $9.1 million in sales yearly. The project certainly will provide the catalyst for a substantial increase in spending in the Baldwin area by increased property taxes, adding additional residents to shop and dine in the community, and to sustain local businesses that are looking to thrive again. It will eliminate a vacant property directly across from the Long Island Railroad and revitalize the area, and it will enhance the aesthetics of the downtown. Finally, the Breslin organization recognizes that the town has worked tirelessly to implement the overlay zone and worked with local organizations for a number of years and all members of the community to promote this development in Baldwin, to increase all the services in Baldwin and to revitalize the area. And for this reason, Breslin Realty will be committing the amount of $250,000 to the town of Hempstead to be used in its discretion towards its commitment of services to the Baldwin community. So at this time, I would like to call up Walter Sieber to discuss the site plan.
Thank you, Ms. Cascano. Mr. Seaver, please give your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Good morning, Supervisor, members of the board. My name is Walter Seaver. I'm Director of Site Development with Cameron Engineering and Associates, with offices at 177 Crossways Park Drive, Woodbury, New York. Also here with me today from the office is Richard Sapolsky, partner with the firm, David Tepper, Seeker and Planning, and Rebecca Goldberg, Traffic and Parking Engineer. Briefly, some of the existing conditions. The property at Sunrise Highway has frontage on Grand Avenue, which is a Nassau County right-of-way, Sunrise Highway, a New York State right-of-way, and Harrison Avenue, a Town of Hempstead right-of-way. The total project area is 78,417 square feet, or 1.8 acres, which comprises the parcel at Sunrise Highway and also a smaller parcel along the Harrison Avenue frontage, which is 110 feet south on Harrison Avenue. The existing properties are generally level, vacant land with no built improvements at this time, and most recently, Sunrise Highway property was being utilized for the storage of motor vehicles. Remedial work will be performed on the project. Both a Phase 1 and a Phase 2 environmental investigation were performed at the subject property. The results of that investigation noted that there were an underground metal storage tank, drainage structures, and an oil-water separator from the former uses at the site, in addition to urban fill, which were detected with low levels of SVOCs, or semi-volatile organic compounds. The removals of these structures and soil will be completed with a soil management plan that will follow the rules and regulations of the New York State DEC and in accordance with the Nassau County Department of Health standards. If during construction any other unforeseen structures or structures are found during the construction that need to be removed, those will also be completed within the guidelines of the New York State DEC and the Nassau County Department of Health regulations. With regard to the bulk zoning regulations, the subject property is a key parcel within the town of Hempstead's Baldwin BMX Transit-Oriented Development District. The proposed 215-unit residential development will provide quick and easy access to the Long Island train platform. The walk from either of the building lobby doors is only 450 to 500 feet from the site to the platform stairs on Grand Avenue. Under the TOD bulk regulations, as discussed by Ms. Caggiano, the maximum FAR is 1.5, and the code also permits for an additional 0.5 of FAR for a total development bonus of 2.0 floor area ratio. The building, as designed, has a floor area ratio of 1.91 underneath that threshold. The maximum building coverage permitted is 80% of the total lot area, and the proposed building as designed is 59,190 square feet, which is approximately 75% of the lot area. Again, as discussed, the maximum number of units is 60 units per acre. This application is for 215 units or 119 units per acre, which has been noted as a variance request, but is also being requested to make this a successful and viable project. Under the BMX code, a maximum building height of 75 feet is permitted. The building as designed is 68.12, and that measurement is taken from the median centerline road grade of the three frontages of the property to the top of the parapet wall. Also, as discussed, the Baldwin BMX TOD code does specify some minimum and maximum setbacks for the building. The application is requesting that there be relaxation to those minimum and maximum setbacks to enhance the pedestrian experience at the sidewalk level. With regards to site planning, the proposed building is situated at a very prominent location within the Baldwin community, and more specifically has a very pronounced corner at the intersection of Sunrise Highway and Harrison Avenue. The building has been sited on the site and will truly serve as a gateway landmark building into the Baldwin community, and will also serve as a catalyst to activate the redevelopment into the Baldwin BMX zone and the entire Grand Avenue corridor. As previously stated, this location and this site is directly south of the Long Island Railroad, and this will truly be a transit-oriented development. Again, the residents will have quick access to the Long Island Railroad train platform. The building's also been designed with resident access points at Sunrise Highway and Harrison Avenue. Those building accesses will provide direct access to the residence lobby, amenity spaces, leasing office, mailrooms, and etc. To improve the resident and general public's pedestrian experience, the building has been set back 5 feet from the property line along the Sunrise Highway frontage. This setback provides the right and better opportunity to enhance the pedestrian and safety experience along the busy corridor. From the face of the building to the face of the curb will be a 15-foot wide streetscape. And this streetscape is going to be redeveloped with decorative pavement banding, decorative bollard lighting, new landscape installations to enhance greening at the building foundation. This sidewalk at this frontage will have a total width of almost 12 feet. Along the Harrison Avenue frontage, the building has been set back 21 feet from the property line. This setback provides for an adequate space to develop an inviting and desirable main entrance and provide the adequate room for a vehicular drop-off and pickup area. Designed to maintain a safe separation between vehicles and pedestrian traffic that will enhance those distinctive experiences as people arrive at this facility. This entrance will also be developed with decorative landscaping, lighting, new hardscape treatments. The additional setback is also more aligned to the setbacks of the single-family residence found further south along Harrison Avenue. Harrison Avenue is the only point that this development will have curb cuts as well. The curb cut will provide access to the interior parking area as well as to the resident drop-off area. The parking solution for this plan, for this development, is basically an internal parking with spaces on grade and below grade. This design, integrated to the architecture of the building, will provide for almost total screening of vehicles from all street frontages. Along the Grand Avenue frontage, the building is set back 22.5 feet from the property line. This enhanced setback provides for improved separation to the Grand Avenue right-of-way and permits for the siting of a public plaza area outside one of the retail spaces that have been incorporated into the building design. This area will also be developed with decorative lighting, hardscape treatments, and enhanced landscape plantings. Additionally, to serve both the residents and the general public, included in the site plan is a 2,600 square foot pocket park, which is located on the west side of the proposed development, and it will have frontage on the Sunrise Highway sidewalk. This pocket park is wholly contained within the developer's property, and this space will be a passive public-private amenity for both the general public, residents, and residents' guests. The proposed passive park will have unrestricted use by the residents of the building, and for security purposes, the park will be limited from the hours of 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. for the general public. The security of the space will be regulated with access gates and potentially controlled with electronic card readers or key fob access. This space will also be directly connected or adjacent to another commercial space within the retail building, retail restaurant space within the building. And patrons of that will be able to access the passive park during their time at the business. The proposed pocket park will be programmed with a water wall, decorative hardscape treatments, a synthetic turf lawn panel. The proposed space will also be landscaped with both specimen, deciduous, and evergreen landscaping, evergreen screening, deciduous shade trees. The park will also be accented with decorative site lighting. It's proposed to have overhead cantonary lighting, decorative furniture, and decorative planters throughout. As previously mentioned, in addition to the pocket park, there will also be a public plaza, which is on the Grand Avenue right-of-way frontage. This space will have unrestricted access and use by both residents and the general public, and will also be directly adjacent to the commercial retail space within the proposed building. Again, proposed to have landscaping, decorative hardscape treatments, lighting package that's all comprehensive to the development of the facility. Refuse storage and management will be an internal operation to the building. A dedicated refuse room will be built within the footprint of the building, and Only on collection night will containers be brought out to the curb for collection. Also, to support the operations of the building, a dedicated delivery truck space and move-in space has been sited on the Harrison Avenue frontage, and that will be screened with landscaping from the street. On the property, just south of the main development parcel, 12 surface parking spaces are proposed. Of those 12 spaces, it's contemplated to install 6 EV charging stations in this parking facility. During our meeting with the Baldwin Fire Department, it was discussed and it was preferred that EV charging stations not be located on the internal side of the building or within the internal parking facilities. On the second floor of the building, there is an amenity deck proposed for the use by residents and their guests. This space will be programmed with outdoor grilling stations, a synthetic turf multi-purpose lawn panel, walking paths, furniture, decorative lighting, and will be adjacent to indoor amenity spaces on the same level of the building. All building and site signage and site lighting will be a comprehensive package that will comply with all of the requirements that are spelled out within the Baldwin mixed-use zoning overlay district guidelines. With regards to utilities, throughout the course of the project, we have been making headway with each of the various utility providers. We recently received a letter of sewer availability from the Nassau County Department of Public Works, and that was for the proposed application of 215 residential units and 5,000 square feet of retail restaurant space with the anticipated sanitary flow of 51,850 gallons per day. That letter is dated September 27th, 2022, and we will submit that to the board for their records. We've also engaged Liberty New York Water and have requested a letter of water availability from that utility as well. We have not received the letter, but have had dialogue with the utility provider. They've confirmed that there is a 20-inch water main in the Grand Avenue right-of-way in close proximity to the southwest corner of the site. They also confirmed that within Harrison Avenue there is a 6-inch water main. Ongoing discussions with Liberty Water are currently being conducted. It's anticipated that a letter of water availability will be provided by the utility provider. We have also coordinated with Liberty Water a height and flow test, and that test results were received on September 16, 2022. The analysis on a preliminary level is that there's more than adequate pressure and flow in that water main to service the development. We've also been speaking with PSE&G with regards to electric availability. A letter of availability for electric service was provided to the PSE&G. There was also a site meeting conducted on September 22nd, 2022 with representatives from PSE&G. During that meeting, it was discussed that the developer would propose to pay for the utility poles along Harrison Avenue to be relocated below grade. The impact of this relocation is that the utility provider is asking the developer to grant a 10-foot deep by 30-foot wide utility easement for the benefit of that utility company to place electrical equipment in faults below grade. As also mentioned earlier in the presentation, the poles along Sunrise Highway will be proposed for removal. We anticipate receiving a letter of electric availability in the near future, and once received, we'll submit to the board for their records. We are also in similar discussions with National Grid with regards to natural gas service, and will provide documentation once received. The site plan was submitted to the Nassau County Fire Marshal for their review of the aerial apparatus and staging and access points to the building. With the relocation of the utility wires below grade, the building will be able to be serviced from both Sunrise Highway and Harrison Avenue with no obstructions, providing 2 points of staging and serviceability for the local fire department. As part of the preliminary plans and design, we did look at the stormwater storage system and management for the property. We've basically designed a system that will provide for an 8-inch storm event that's being provided in both stormwater storage tanks that will be integral to the podium level of the building, and the use of concrete leaching galleys below the lower level of the building for stormwater recharge. The groundwater is roughly 16.5 feet below grade, which will allow for adequate separation of drainage from groundwater. The building is also proposed to be developed with a green roof above the podium level on the south side of the building. This improvement will serve to reduce stormwater runoff rates, increase the quality of the stormwater being recharged into the ground, and provide an aesthetically pleasing feature for the units with the windows above that side of the building. As we've been discussing throughout this presentation, the planting plan or the plant installation for this project will be a comprehensive plan that will be comprised of a combination of deciduous trees, shrubs, evergreen trees, and shrubs, specimen plantings at key locations, and evergreen screenings. In addition to tall growing plant material, the landscape plan will also include a palette of ground covers, perennials, ferns, and ornamental grasses. Along the Sunrise Highway frontage and continuing around on the Harrison Avenue frontage is proposed to be a series of repeatedly spaced columnar trees. The comprehensive landscape plan will be complementary to the building's architecture and reinforce the design of the building. In high-traffic areas, the landscape plantings are designed to accentuate these spaces. The proposed and selected plant material shown on the updated landscape planting plan is in keeping with the plant material outlined in the design guidelines for the overlay district. If you'd like, I can take questions now, or we can move through the presentation.
Yeah, why don't we go through the presentation, and we'll come back with some questions.
Perfect.
Okay? Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to call Jack Raker, Moscow Architects.
All right. Let's give your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Thank you, board members. Appreciate it. My name is Jack Raker. I'm with Principal at Minot and Moscow Architects and Planners. And the address is 80 Lambert Lane in Lambertville, New Jersey. If you could go to the next slide, please. I'm going to start, actually the next one after that. Stay right there. So I'm going to just talk a little bit. I'm going to actually speak more to the slides than the previous two presenters to sort of review and go into detail about the building. I'm going to just give you a quick overview. I know it may have been said before, but we have about 215 dwelling units, of which 46 are studios, 138 are one-bedrooms, and 31 are two-bedrooms. What you're looking at on the screen here is the below-grade parking. So this level is actually accessed via a ramp. As you go into the upper level, there's a ramp that takes you down to this lower level. This is all private parking for the residents. And then there are elevators at this level that take you up to the floor that you'll be living in. Go to the next slide, please. This building will be entirely fully accessible, fully code compliant. It'll be sprinklered with the most comprehensive sprinkler system, which is an NFPA 13 sprinkler system. And again, we'll work with the fire marshals to comply with all of their requests and to work with them to make sure the building is as safe as possible. What you're looking at on the screen, you can see, you'll notice there are two somewhat orange colors. Those are the cafes or restaurants. That's the retail space that's in the project. Those have frontages on both Sunrise and Grand. So they have actually recessed a little bit. They also have some plaza space in front of them. There'll be some outdoor eating areas to really activate the streets, which we think is great. And then on the right-hand side of the drawing, in gray and the blue is actually the lobby and the main entry to the project. And then the gray is support on either side. You'll see there's some amenity space, some fitness. I have some sample images to show you of like fitness and amenity that we've done in other projects, and I'll show them to you very shortly. But essentially, you pull up at the front of the building. There's a little drop-off area. That's where we'll take deliveries, FedEx, UPS. There are plenty of packages to these buildings. Packages have to be managed by management, and there's a package room inside. Pull up, They're checked in, they drop off their stuff, and they go. Residents are notified typically via some type of email or text that they have a package, and they can stop by on their way home and pick up their package and take it in. Usually these are large areas. There's bins for opening up your package and throwing out the trash, and they're very comprehensive. And actually a really social space in the building. People will go there and open packages and see your neighbors that you haven't seen in a while. They become a bit of a social space. Fitness is in the top left corner, top right corner, I apologize. And that is also helps activate the street. You'll see that space being utilized from the exterior, which is another way to keep these active amenities and active uses inside the building along the street. You won't notice there is some parking at this level, and it's entered on the bottom right. You really won't notice the parking at this level. We've done a great job at hiding it with all of the amenities, the retail, and I'll go through some images in a little bit. Next slide, please. So this is the level above that, and what you saw, at least in some previous slides, was that center area, that white area right there in the middle. That's an amenity space, an outdoor amenity space. It's open to the sky. Units look down into it. And in that area, we have like some grilling areas. There's outdoor lawn area. Great place for people to go and socialize when the weather's good. And since you can't really grill, you have an apartment, you can't grill on your terrace, it's a great place to go and get out and do some grilling. And then, there's tables, chairs, there's some trellises that you can sit under. But on the inside, in the tan space that's shown there, it's another like sort of lounge area that you can go and sit. There'll be like a fireplace in there. Place if you want to work from home and you don't want to sit in your apartment, you could go down there and sit and relax and get some work done. We have about total, there's about, on the ground floor, I didn't say the square foot, we're about 5,000 square feet of retail, and then a little 600 square foot co-work cafe. We have about 1,700 square feet of fitness planned, and then we have about this area here, this lounge area is about 3,700 square feet as well. So this building will be highly amenitized. Next slide, please. And these are some samples of those types of amenities. This is just showing sort of bar, TV area, great place when there's a big sporting event on that they can go, sit and watch the games together. Lounge area with a fireplace, and then fitness areas that's very well amenitized. Next slide, please. And you can see this is going to be somewhat repetitive as it goes up. It's a very similar footprint. All these units stack above one another, and all the way up through the 5 floors of the building. Next slide, please. So the unit plans are also very well amenitized. They're open floor plans, hard surface floors, stone countertops, they're with stainless steel appliances. These are all very well amenitized apartments. And with people watching HGTV nowadays, people really recognize good design and they demand it. So you really need to bring your A game when designing these units and for people to enjoy them. You can see in some of the photos of the typical kitchens, and these are very typical of apartments, of luxury apartments in the area. Next slide, please. This is the roof plan. Doesn't seem very interesting, but what I want to note is we've kept all of the mechanical systems to the center around the corridors. That's important. We have a lot here because every unit gets its own heating and air conditioning. So there's a lot of condensers on the roof. They're small, about 3 by 3, but we end up putting them over the hallways in the building so they're not visible from the street. Plus we have a parapet that comes up around the edge of the building and it makes it less visible. Next slide, please. This is a blow-up area of that center courtyard area. You can see there's like a landscape green, and the hatched area to the north of the page is some hardscape, and that's where there'll be some grilling areas. I do have some sample slides as well of what this area typically looks like. Could you go to the next slide, please? So this is a typical garage deck top amenity. There's trellises, grilling stations, places for seating, lounge areas, and just some grass areas. It's usually simulated grass. It's easier to maintain, and it's a place for people to just hang out on a great day and enjoy the outside. Next slide, please. I'm not going to focus too much on the elevations. We do comply with building height, but I'm going to show you some rendered slides because it's really the more natural way to view a building. Let's go to the next slide. So this is the slide as you're looking on the north side of the project, and you can see what you're looking at here is you're seeing the green, that green line is the, I'm sorry, it's the south side, I apologize. You're looking at the green roof.
Just so you clarify, is that Harrison with the car on it coming down? Is that about right?
This is Harrison that you're looking toward Sunrise Highway?
Yeah, okay. All right. So that's Harrison, that's not Sunrise Highway, just trying to get the video.
That's correct, that's correct. So we're looking at, there's a parking area next to the building. You're seeing, and our building steps back. Our garage entry is right there at the corner. And you can see that green roof that is adding some nice greenery to the building at a level that's not at grade. And then just at the bottom, you can see that there is just a hint of the entry, the main entry to the building. Let's go to the next slide and get a better view of that elevation. So this is the same elevation, just looking the opposite direction. You can see the main entry is right there at the center. There's a car there sitting out front. It's where you'll be able to pull up, drop off, pick up. If you were getting an Uber, you could jump into an Uber there. It's out of the right of way, so you're not having any interference with cars coming on. But we have a great building, lots of glass, quality materials, brick, hardy panel. It's very, metal railings and metal sunshades. So it's a very highly detailed and quality building. Let's go to the next slide, please. This is a view on the corner, just moving out, seeing the corner at sunrise. Seeing that, you're going to get the next shot you're going to see is probably a night scene, getting some lighting on the building. But you can see same materials, irrelevant of what side you're looking at the building. We didn't change materials. We're using the same quality of materials on all sides of the building. Go to the next slide, please. So this one, it's a little bit more at night. You can see some of the light coming out through the windows. Next slide, please. Sunrise Highway elevation. You see you're looking really at a parking garage at the lower level, but you really don't see it. We've activated it with a great cafe to the right that fronts the pocket park, and we have a fitness to the left that really blocks a lot of your view of the garage. And we've treated the facade the same, so if you're walking down, you're not going to notice any difference one way or the other. And notice you don't see any mechanical equipment. It's just too low from the perspective. Walking around this building, you won't see any of the mechanical equipment. Next slide, please. And this is moving a little further down. You're catching the bank. Again, it's along Sunrise. You have a great view into that pocket park with all of its amenities. We've got a great water feature planned for that pocket park. We realize that Sunrise is, highly trafficked highway and produces some noise, so we've done some things to mitigate that, and creating a nice water feature inside that pocket park does help drown out some of that car noise. Next slide, please. And we've taken great care to the color, the accent banding color on our building is a very similar feel to the bank building that's adjacent. Lots of glass. The bank has that vertical glass orientation. We've done a very similar design on the building where you have those vertical glass elements in that brick facade. And you can see just peeking over the roof some balconies that are overlook the pocket park below. Next slide, please. Again, this is the other retail area that has some landscaping in front, also some outdoor seating area. And you'll notice here is a strong gesture toward the bank. The way those windows are grouped vertically like that, we think is a great complement to the surrounding architectural elements. We think this building is going to be a great asset to your community. And as you looked at the building, and go back a couple of slides, something I did forget to mention, just right there is good. What we've done is we've used breaks in the building, changing color and material so that it's not one long monotonous structure. We've broken that building up to break up its mass. So we've done some great design work to really blend it into the surrounding architecture. And that's pretty much my presentation. I don't know if any questions from the board.
Just going to have you hang out for a little bit. I'm going to have some questions. Let's do the presentation first.
Great.
At this time, I'd like to call Dave Tepper, the planning manager at Cameron Engineering.
Hello, good morning, members of the board and the public. My name is David Tepper. I'm planning manager at Cameron Engineering, over 10 years at the firm. The address for the record, our offices are at 177 Crossways Park Drive, Woodbury, New York, 11797. I'm an AICP certified planner with over 15 years of professional planning experience in both the public and private sector. And I just wanted to sort of share some of the planning history that's led to the development of this project and some of the secret details that I think may be helpful to the board in evaluating the project. Just a bit of planning history. The Baldwin community has been involved with revitalization efforts for well over 10 years now. Actually, one of my first projects at Cameron Engineering was the Nassau County Infill Redevelopment Feasibility Study, which was an extensive study of 21 Long Island Railroad train stations all across Nassau County. And the end result of this process, Baldwin was actually selected as one of the top 3 winning station areas. And it received this designation in part because it had significant transit-oriented redevelopment opportunities, which include vacant and underutilized properties, among other criteria, strong levels of community support, and the infrastructure and locational attributes to support redevelopment, which I think have been discussed quite extensively tonight. The proposed project site that we're discussing is located approximately 450 feet from the railroad platform, which is actually closer than much of the existing commuter parking. So it's true transit-oriented development there. But continuing on with the prior studies, I just wanted to point out that this was well over 10 years, and it led to future community meetings to sort of further refine the approach in redeveloping these areas and how the density would be appropriately transitioned from this highly active commercial corridor down to the more residential neighborhoods of Baldwin. And again, from these early planning studies, the proposed project site has consistently been identified as a key project site with access to both the Long Island Railroad, but also as a key site in linking together the Merrick Road, Grand Avenue, and Sunrise Highway commercial corridors. So the result of this study that started in 2012 ultimately led to a a study which Elizabeth mentioned, which is titled Resilient Baldwin, the Baldwin Downtown Commercial Corridor Resiliency Study. And that was completed in about 2017, partially in response to Superstorm Sandy as a resiliency recovery strategy for the hamlet of Baldwin. But I think most importantly from that study, despite impacts from flooding and physical changes, the study really identified the need for economic resiliency in Baldwin, and that includes revitalizing the commercial corridors, increasing pedestrian and bicycle activity, and supporting the community with additional housing options. And the key recommendation, as I said, this resiliency study really bridged the gap between physical and flooding impacts from a storm, more towards economic development and commercial recovery of Baldwin. And the key outcome of that was the development and recommendation from that study led to the development of the Baldwin Mixed-Use Overlay District, which is the district before us today, and our project represents one of the first applications under that district. Just to kind of keep the timeline going, I just wanted to discuss some of the processes that went on with the adoption of the BMX district. So when a zoning district is adopted like this, obviously the area that's affected is quite large. It has potential for changes within the community. So the town engaged a consultant to prepare what's known as a draft generic environmental impact statement. The generic term is only used to indicate that the study is looking at an entire area rather than a particular property. So that's the appropriate type of study when performing a zoning change. And this study, a DGIS is a highly extensive study required by SECRA state regulations, and it contemplated what the build-out of the Baldwin downtown area could be under this zoning. So in this case, it looks at potential parcels for development, likely parcels for development, and under a maximum build-out scenario, what would that really look like? And in this case, as Elizabeth had mentioned, the DGIS contemplated approximately 1,162 new housing units within Baldwin that could be developed under the current code. And that provides a baseline for their analysis. So the report looks at everything from water use, sanitary use, traffic, noise, visual impacts, school impacts, et cetera, et cetera. And ultimately, the study that was performed to enable the zoning found that the Baldwin community could support this level of development, and it would be, they set up their study focusing on 9 properties of interest, including the proposed project site, which we're discussing today. So, bridging this all together, most recently, the Baldwin community was a recipient of a very exciting initiative through the state known as the Downtime Evalonization Initiative. And that's basically a $10 million award for the Baldwin community to develop projects that are not simply projects undertaken by the public sector, but a mix of public and private sector projects that really act as a catalyst for future development and can really help projects get started where they really might otherwise not be feasible.
Just a quick question while you're there. Focusing on the $10 million, can you just explain quickly where that $10 million is actually allocated to in the development process?
Sure. I can provide a brief summary. So that money is distributed across a range of projects which were developed by the Baldwin community. As I'm sure many are aware, there have been many community meetings that sort of develop those projects, and the community itself, working with its planners and with the state, come up with a final slate of projects. So I believe it's approximately 10 projects for Baldwin. I'm most familiar with the project with the residential component. There are 4 within this process identified and awarded by the state.
Okay, I guess what I'm just trying to explain to everyone that's listening is, the $10 million is divided into 10 different projects, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the $10 million is not utilized for infrastructure or actual, I guess, beautification of Baldwin. The $10 million is directly invested into the developers and the development of the projects.
Correct.
Okay. So there's not streets being done, there's not sidewalks being constructed, there's not light and lampposts. The money, the $10 million state funding is going directly to the developers.
Correct, and that's a good distinction. The DRI grant program is not intended to do your standard maintenance and infrastructure upkeep, as the town board mentioned. It is more for these catalytic projects that can really kickstart the local economy and really provide the investment that is otherwise not hitting these communities.
No, absolutely, and I think it's great. I just want to make sure that everyone sort of understands.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'd be happy. I understand it's a fairly complicated process. There's a lot of moving parts here. I'd be happy to answer questions from the public or the board following the presentation. So, as I was mentioning, of those projects that we just discussed in Baldwin, there are 4 projects with residential components that were awarded funding through the DRI process. There's a project that we're presenting on today, which represents 215 residential units. There's 775 Brooklyn Avenue, which is across Sunrise Highway, just north of the Long Island Railroad tracks, and that is proposing 107 residential units, 24,000 square feet of commercial, and 81 parking spaces on approximately 0.62 acres, 0.62 acre site. So that's a density comparison, 172 units per acre within the BMX TOD zone. Moving further up Grand Avenue, there's another residential mixed-use project, 2130, 2134 through 2138 Grand Avenue. And that comprises 60 residential units, 7,800 square feet of commercial on approximately 1 acre site. So as I mentioned before, this is, although slightly less dense, this is also in an area where the code regulates it to be slightly less dense. And this is by design, where the code purposefully concentrates density near the train station, and gradually as we move back towards residential neighborhoods, it steps back. So in this area, we're down to 45 units per acre, and as you move further, essentially further away from that central spine of Grand Avenue and north and south of the Long Island Railroad, you see that density start to decrease. And lastly, the final project awarded under the DRI was 785 Merrick Road, which represents a 100% affordable 33-unit, 100% residential development. So in total, these projects, as I said, 4 projects with mostly mixed use, but including residential components, represents 415 units, if these were all to be developed as requested. And as I mentioned, the DGIS, which enabled this zoning and essentially enabled these projects to be proposed before you today, analyzed well above this number. Again, 1,162 units were contemplated. And again, just the proposed project we're discussing today representing an even smaller percentage of that at 215. So my colleague Walter did touch on many of the infrastructure potential impacts, which are a big part of the secret analysis that we perform. I did want to just touch on a few items that sort of fall outside that infrastructure category and sort of more into the day-to-day lives of the Baldwin community. So one of the, I guess, hot button issues with any development, redevelopment project is school children. And it's, rightly so, everybody is concerned about their children, about their school district. And I just wanted to bring it up because it's a rather nuanced issue, particularly when we're talking about TOD development, but also when we're talking about a development that's proposing over 85% studio and one-bedroom units. And the net impact of these, both the locational influence, the unit mix that we've developed, as well as the types of amenities that the architect highlighted in the marketing that would be associated with this building, we do not foresee a significant number of school children at all. Just going back to the DGIS that the town used to adopt this zoning, that too has to look at school children, potential school children across the entire zoning district. So under that full build-out scenario, 1,162 units, the DGIS that the town prepared estimated that it could result in 186 school children across the entire district. And that's using 100% two-bedroom units across the district, so that's a relatively conservative estimate. School children associated with two-bedroom units are estimated at a higher rate than one-bedroom units, if that makes sense. I believe it's pretty intuitive. And going further, the studios are predicted to generate far fewer than even one-bedrooms, as they're typically, with this project, although the unit size is very slightly, we'll say averaging about 550 square feet for a studio unit, which is not a typical situation for raising children, and not typically a type of apartment that somebody would seek out with a family. And just to clarify, for using the similar projections, which again I believe are rather conservative, our proposed project could result in up to 18 school children of those 186 contemplated in the DGIS. So again, it's a relatively small number. Our development project represents approximately 18.5% of the total unit count contemplated in the DGIS, but we're closer to about 10% of the total children. So again, that's reflective of the type of development that we're bringing before you today, where it's 85% studio and one bedroom, and it's really not designed to be the types of units that would attract families or really encourage that type of use. So again, I'd be happy to answer questions on that. I know the school issue is nuanced. It's quite detailed, and it can be very different across multifamily developments depending on which community they're in, where they're located, so on and so forth. But I'd be happy to address that and answer any questions there.
Why don't we again wait till the end? I know we got I read the study on the development and Patchogue and the actual impact of students, but why don't we continue and we will stand by in case any questions come up at the end of the presentation.
Correct. And sort of the next piece is sort of more, going back to our development of our project here and the considerations that we've sort of analyzed in developing this, both the unit mix, the location, and the overall design of the project. So as I mentioned, you're looking at a prime location. This is a key redevelopment site that has been identified in every single planning study, basically every planning meeting that has accompanied those studies, as a key redevelopment site. As it's been mentioned, it's a site that is subject to prior contamination from use for car storage and associated activities there. So this represents an opportunity to remove contamination from a community that, in just being candid, does not happen without private investment. Often these sites will sit and linger undeveloped because of these very contamination issues. And the idea that it's, our applicant has already invested a significant amount of effort into the phase 1, phase 2, and developing of a remediation plan. And I just wanted to point out that this remediation, when you're cleaning up a site for residential use, that cleans it up to basically the highest level of safety and cleanup. If you were using it for some industrial use, you're not technically required to get it to quite that level. So we really feel that's a major asset, and we really wanted to address that point today, as it's a critical piece that, the density request that we're bringing before you is in large part due to this cleanup activity, and it's quite a common tool used in planning where density bonuses are granted to enable this type of cleanup and allow a developer to actually get in there and do the work needed. Secondly, I've sort of covered this point at several points in the presentation, but I did want to just reiterate that this project has been designed and refined over a very extensive period of time, both in the planning world. As I said, it's over 10 years of planning, including multiple studies at the county level, at the town level, private developers participating in this process, the community participating in this process. So we really feel we're in tune with that. We've been on the ground basically since the beginning, and we've taken every step in the process to hit the legislative intent of the zone and also the design criteria that has been developed through this zone and the design report. I know we've discussed the locational attributes. The distance to Long Island Railroad is just, even amongst transit-oriented development across Long Island, it's pretty unique. There's really no reason for somebody to use their car to access the train ever, and that's, you can't say that for every type of development. And lastly, just focusing on the actual build-out of the site. I know we're talking about an increased request for density here, but one of the, I'd say, unique aspects of this project, and I'm somewhat familiar in multifamily projects across Long Island, although we're requesting a density increase, we're well within the height limit and all other dimensional regulations set forth within the code, with the exception of the setbacks, which are designed for improving public spaces and dealing with utilities. We're not requesting anything above and beyond what the visual impact would look like, what the height impact would look like, and I think that's an important consideration, that although there's a density increase, there's really no height increase or much of a change in how it would appear to the community.
Want to continue?
Sure. Last, but not least at all by any means, Barry Nelson.
Yeah, we're very excited about this. We know Barry, 0 to 50 in 5 seconds. Barry, Mr. Nelson, if you give your name and address for the record. Yeah, listen. Just, you like coming here because we're a little relaxed, we're a little more fun. Just give your name for the record. It's always nice to see you, Mr. Nelson.
You guys are the best. As I was saying, this is the only reason I'm still in business. Good afternoon, it's Barry Nelson, 220 Pettit Avenue, Belmont, New York, 11710. I did hand in a packet of photographs. The board has. I think this.
We received them up to the town board, and they will be submitted as part of the record.
Thank you very much. The board has heard substantially the subject property, the redevelopment for the downtown Baldwin area. The subject property is truly the most unique parcel probably along Grand Avenue, Sunrise Highway, both north and south of the Long Island Railroad. Why do I say that? You've heard many descriptions of the property, but I believe it's the largest and probably the only parcel along Sunrise Highway that lends itself to this type of development. You have Grand Avenue, north and south, and then you get down to Merrick Road. But Sunrise Highway is the corridor for this development. You have professional uses, you have the medical center or the patient South Nassau Hospitals just to the south. Continuing south on Grand Avenue, you have the funeral home, a bank, professional offices and uses. Most of those are in place and need supporting. You have the southwest corner, the Koch office building, which almost mirrors the building on the southeast corner. Ideally, this development will be a substantial upgrading and improvement to both those corner parcels. If we continued west, excluding the cell tower on the westerly side of the Koch building, we get to a fast food drive-through restaurant and a substantial development of retail which needs supporting now. That's a 85,000 square foot retail center with Best Buy, Applebee's, professional uses in that development, and another restaurant. Along the westerly side of Grand Avenue, you have the post office, 1 and 2 stories, office buildings, medical facilities, professional uses. There is substantial vacancy along in those buildings. As you continue south, you've got some vacant parcels. You have retail, professional services, and you do have vacant parcels along Grand Avenue. Right down to Merrick Road, and you'd have the urban renewal portion of the BMX zone, northwest corner of Merrick Road and Grand Avenue. The easterly corridor, east of the subject property on Sunrise Highway would include a drive-through Dunkin' Donuts, the diner, and we continue to go east for retail uses right into the incorporated village of Freeport. I worked on many type of proposals like the subject property that have been developed throughout Nassau County and some in Suffolk County. This is a high-end quality proposal for this location, a transitional parcel for future development both south of Sunrise Highway and north of Sunrise Highway, but none will lend itself to this type of development. It's probably surely unique in that it has frontages on Grand Avenue, Sunrise Highway, and Harrison Avenue. It'll blend in its earth tones and high quality. It'll include soundproofing for windows, for noise and mitigation. It'll have its own services for the tenants. That'll be for the public as well, with the public park incorporated at ground level. It'll include substantial parking, which many of these other developments do not lend itself to, as the subject property does, and the proposal. Rentals, it will be a market rent development. It'll include 10% for workforce housing. Rentals include a well-balanced for studio apartments, 1 bedrooms, and some 2 bedrooms. The analysis or the studies that I've looked at would include the Avalon and Rockville Center. It'll include recently completed Island Park on the waterfront, which is near the railroad as well. It'll include Grapevine in Amityville. It'll include new developments that were constructed at similar type of amenities, density, location in the village of Mineola. The studios, and we're basing them on today's rents, and of course we do have a developer ready, willing, and able to put a shovel in the ground to make this happen for both the town and the incorporated, and the Waldron location. The studios today are generally starting around $2,550 a month. 1 bedrooms, $2,700 to $2,800 a month, and 2 bedrooms, approximately $3,500 a month, based on today's rents, based on market rents, at those developments. I also recently completed a proposal in the incorporated village of Cedarhurst and Lawrence, and they all have similar type of developments proposed, similar type of density. Some provide adequate parking or ask for relief. Again, the property itself was a former car dealership, retail stores, Conway Motors. I'm just dating myself a little bit. It's my opinion, as proposed, this is a reasonable development. It provides a transition from the other other developments, and you heard the other developments would be north of Sunrise Highway. Visually, it's aesthetically pleasing. The interesting aspect also is that could be the gateway to many of your universities that are located in close proximity. The ideal situation is to keep your college graduates and empty nesters on Long Island. You have Hofstra University, you got Adelphi University, you have Malloy College, National Community College. Students are looking for a high-end, quality place to live with amenities. I can speak personally in that my children all graduated local colleges, now live off of Long Island. And I believe many of the board members can relate to that same instance. They have no place to go for a decent development that offers amenities, that is close proximity to railroad. With that said, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I will remain here.
No, we're going to keep you super late. Yeah, well, you stick around. I got a number of questions. I know a lot of the residents have a number of questions as well.
Thank you.
Counselor?
So that is our presentation, and we'd be glad to take any questions at this point.
Great. I know we have a couple. I do want to recognize the following. Look, this project really driven by the Baldwin community was being put, really, the hearings were taking place during the pandemic. And I want to thank a lot of the Baldwin residents, Dave Capel, who is my co-chair, our friends at VHB, who came up with very unique and clever ways to continue this process virtually. I also want to take the time to thank Kevin Law, who sat there and worked with the state when everything else was shutting down. He worked with a lot of you in this audience here today and a lot of our entities to keep it going at a time that we were just doing stuff that nobody foresaw, the shutting everything down, but the drive was there to continue it going. So I do want to thank the counselor, and then, like I said, my friends from VHB and Dave and Kevin and all the residents from the civics and the chambers and all the neighbors who really, worked and came up with creative ways to get the process. So, Ms. Cascignano, I'm going to go through a couple, and then we can bring back people when we need to pinch hit. Just want to cut down to a couple of the basics here. Right now, your proposal calls for how many units?
215.
Okay, and just give me the breakdown of studio to single to double so everybody has it.
Ben, can you just tell me that quickly, please? So we have 46 studios, 138 one-bedrooms, and 31 two-bedrooms.
And what are your estimated costs of each of those projected to be?
You mean rents?
Yeah.
They're going to be market rate, but I would call Barry up to answer that question exactly.
I believe what I...
You go for it, Barry.
Was $2,550 studios, $2,700 to $2,800 for the one bedrooms, and approximately $3,500 for the two bedrooms.
Thank you, Barry. See, that was a little quicker. The concern I have, and I bring it up, is you have Grand Avenue, which is a county-owned road, which is going through some process, which I don't know what they're calling it right now.
have to repave the whole area.
But it was my understanding also that the county was going to cut lanes that were doubles on Grand Avenue to singles, for calming, they were calling it calming. Yeah, little concerned about the traffic flow coming up Grand Avenue, and then on Grand Avenue, there won't be any parking in front of the structure, correct?
No.
Sunrise Highway, is there parking on the southern part of Sunrise along there is not?
No.
But is there a lane there that cars can stop?
Is there?
Right now, I think there is parking in front.
There's the existing lane, but it's not proposed for parking for our...
I understand your, but I'm saying, is there still going to be that open lane that cars are going to park there?
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Now, I'm going to make my right-hand turn onto Harrison. This is a big concern for me. And I understand putting the entrance and everything there. But south on Harrison, I'm concerned about the flow. You're asking residents to come into the lots, and I know you're going to have the reconfigured numbers for us to give an updated package, and I appreciate that. One of the things I was very interested in was the fact that PSE&G wanted to put electrical underground. Knowing that intersection all too well, I think that's a real plus. I think that could really be something to really beautify it, so I'm excited about that. I'm concerned about the flow when somebody drops them off that they're going to use Harrison as a cut-through and go south, and particularly trucks. Is there an idea to have the trucks or any kind of commercial and re-push them right back up to Sunrise Highway?
I will call Rebecca up for that, to answer that question.
Who's gonna, Rebecca, you gonna pitch in on that one?
So there's no plan as of yet. Obviously, Harrison is town jurisdiction.
Yep.
Left or right turns would be allowed out of that driveway as of now.
Okay, that's just a concern that maybe we can come up with some signage to try and direct traffic. If they're going to do that nice turnaround there, to go back up, to push it towards Sunrise. Because that is going to be a concern, I think, for a lot of the residents on the southern tier, that they're going to feel like, hey, we're turning into a cut-through, and that's not really fair to everybody down there. Also, the fact that you're cleaning up that entire corridor, has there been any discussions with Nassau County about getting rid of the red light cameras that are going to back up during construction, and everybody's going to get tickets down there and freak out? I think it's I'm going to tell you right now, as someone who's enjoyed the red light cameras here in Nassau County, I know this intersection all too well. I'm just going to put it that way. My concern is really being realistic to everybody involved. They're doing a calming concept that is going to, back you up on either side of it. And then you got Sunrise Highway, and you're going to have construction vehicles in there, and you're going to have workers going in there. I have a real concern that you get a lot of people who are just trying to go to the bowling alley, go to the store, go to the library, they're dropping the kids off, and they're going to get stuck in a lot of this. And then they're going to have to eat high tickets, because of all the work that's being done there, where maybe, can a discussion be had with the county about possibly doing something to alleviate this potential headache for the residents down there?
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that our team will definitely work closely with Nassau County and definitely make that suggestion to them, just to benefit the residents.
And if they want to make it permanent, I'm sure the residents involved and myself would really enjoy that camera not being on all the time.
We will bring that up, and we will also keep the town posted on that.
I do agree. That is a little bit of a concern, because I look around and anybody goes down Grand Avenue, you're going to get caught in that. You're going to get caught coming north and south. But the calming lane is something that I'm concerned in, because they're already doing construction on that corridor. And I went down to the funeral home the other day, and it really was a nightmare with one lane going north. So, you can only anticipate what it would be like construction. I know there was a question about the actual corner. Is the bank staying there, or is that going?
So we do not, we're not in any contract with the bank building. The landowner, we have made contact, has not really been negotiable with us as of yet. We will continue to try. We would like that building in itself to stay.
Sure.
And if we had any ownership or anything like that, we would improve it. But it's not our property, and it will not be at this point.
I didn't think it was, and like I said, I see this beautiful structure you're proposing. I see a lot of it. I love the fact of changing culture. I just don't know if it would be, it'd be great if, their neighbors didn't have to see, buy or loan the pawn store right there, that they don't want to see anything.
Agreed. The same comments were meant at the IDA, that they love the structure, they don't like the uses, and we don't have control over that. If we do at some point, we will obviously revisit it and make it better.
And again, I appreciate that. Did you have some questions?
Questions that you asked are the ones I'm concerned with, because some of the residents are concerned about the rent. did I hear you say something about 10% of the residents would be, regular folk?
That would be 10% workforce housing and 80% of the area median income.
Okay, so when you say 10%, how much is that? What does that mean?
So it would be 23 units, all in proportion, 22 units, all in proportion to studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms.
Okay, but still, there are some people here, I've met someone who is very interested in the fact that with the incomes that some of them make, they would like to live there. How much would that rent be, possibly?
So those apartments would be at market rates up to the 80% of the AMI. That would be adjusted downward for those workforce units.
Okay, but I guess I'm not asking you the right way. So you said 2,580 for studio, 10% of that would be what?
No, 10% only accounts for the number of units. So it doesn't account for the actual numbers. It would be less than that. Do we have a number on that, what that would be? We don't have those numbers yet, but they would be less, significantly less, and we can put those numbers out once we have them.
Okay, that's good, I'm sure, because the people would like to know. I know some have already asked about it. Yeah, thank you.
When do you think they'll give us an update on the idea of getting rid of the electrical lines and how that's going to affect the underground parking? What do you think the turnaround for you is at?
We've been in communication with PSE&G. We shared plans with them immediately following that meeting on the 22nd of September. Our office, Cameron Engineering, did follow up with them. They still don't have a plan. The update we did get at that point was that it was with their planning and engineering design, so it's still something that's work in progress. What was discussed in the field was, again, the easement that would be basically 10 feet deep into the property and 30 feet wide going in the north-south orientation on Harrison Avenue, and that easement and that underground vault would impact the footprint that was proposed for the lower level parking.
Yeah, that's just so that, a quicker turnaround would be better, so we can have it, because like I said, knowing that corner, it actually could look great, and your night picture of the lighting, it really again adds to it. I know you talked about streetscape. We've committed with our Department of Economic Development to, it's almost really a branding, where we're working with businesses for a lot of branding and similar designing to give the aesthetics to the commercial businesses out there. Can we kind of work with you? I would hate to see you going one way, the residents going a different, and then you have a contrast. Like I said, it's a beautiful structure. It really is. It has a lot of it's very warm and friendly. I'd like to try and, if the community wants to try and keep it all together with that kind of warmth, that's great. But I think it's a discussion we have to continue with our planning and economic development department.
Absolutely. We'll take all comments under consideration and work with you on the greening of the project.
And then you're going to have to, and again, because part of the street is a county street, we should, just like residents love to hear, we got to include the county and I guess the state as well. To just look, we just want to keep everybody on the same page.
We will follow all the directions.
Council?
Just want to ask one quick question. So when we talk about the 10% workforce housing, that would come out to about 5 studios, 14 one-bedrooms, and 3 two-bedrooms. That would be the 22 unit breakdown, right?
Yeah.
And what is the 80% income threshold for the Baldwin area for these units?
So for a family of 1, 80% of the area median income is $70,000. For a family of 2, it's $81,000. For a family of 3, it's $91,000, and for a family of 4, it's $100,000, approximately. That would be the 80% of area median income. So to apply for those, you cannot have an income greater than those numbers.
Okay. Have you spoken to the residents that surround the area about the traffic pattern over there?
I know that this project was presented to the residents. I don't know that ownership discuss specifically traffic, but I know that they presented the entire project to the residents.
I know a few here, you can reach out to them when they speak later and talk about signage, what we can do over there to improve it, like the supervisor said.
That's fine. And I'll give everybody my business cards, and we can certainly meet with them again.
And that's it as far as my questions right now.
Thank you, Councilman.
Council, were you in communication with the school district about the development?
The ownership, yes, has been in communication with the school district.
Like I said, it's a community that wants a lot down there, and they fought hard for it. And I think, they're on the cusp of getting a lot, but I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, and they deserve it, and we have had many town halls, and ownership has been in constant contact with them, and actually has further meetings scheduled, and will schedule as many meetings as necessary prior to, any final project is designed.
That's great. I'm going to ask you to hang out for a little bit. We have a lot of people who submitted to ask questions of it. I would ask your team to be available for it. So I'm going to start with, we already talked to you. Eric Stutz.
Not for this.
Eric?
The only thing I was going to talk about was...
Okay, we'll see if we can come back to Eric. Next I have David Jablon.
No comment.
No comment? Okay, no problem. Next I have Susan Cools. All speakers, I'll remind you, if you go to the back, give your name and address, and you have 3 minutes, that'd be awesome. Thank you. Hi, how are you?
Hi, good afternoon.
Name and address.
Susan Cools, 2094 Grove Street, Baldwin.
Thank you.
So, as all of this has been very technical so far today, this is going to be very not technical. My family is 6 generations in Baldwin because we love our community. We are very dedicated to our community, but we are only one of many, many families that feel the same way. And I know you guys have heard all of this, but I want you to hear it one more time. For 30 years, we have been involved, we have been promised project after project after project. At one point, we could have had a beautiful King Cullen on Sunrise Highway with our Nunley's carousel. They were going to buy it and keep it there. But, everyone got caught up on little technicalities. I'm not saying these things aren't important, but instead we got an ugly Pet Boys. There's just been promise after promise, and nothing has ever happened while we've sat back and watched the rest of Long Island be developed and see all of these beautiful projects, communities turned around, but not Baldwin. For some reason, never Baldwin. So I think we're closer than we've ever been. I do understand that there are concerns by homeowners, by citizens. Hopefully those things can be worked out. Nothing is ever going to be perfect, but our community needs this. I'm asking all of you that are sitting there before us to please finally be the group that is able to say, we were the ones that actually got this done for Baldwin. Whereas all the other groups that came before us just made promises, empty promises, and didn't follow through on any of it. So I'm asking that of all of you, and I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next, I'm going to call Michelle Loader. How you doing? Name and address, please.
Hi. My name is Michelle Allen Oder. I live at 757 Bixby Drive in Baldwin. My street is right on the corner of Harrison Avenue. I'm just going to give you an example of my typical day of trying to get off of Bixby and onto Harrison. To come here this morning, I was almost broadsided by a car at the stop sign at Harrison and Baldwin because Harrison Avenue has become this major thoroughfare between Sunrise and Merrick. And I am so excited about this project because, like Susan, I would like to see Baldwin revitalized. I'm living here for 37 years, and I am also continually frustrated by the fact that I've watched town after town in Baldwin Bay Shore, you name the town, revitalize, and Baldwin is just left to deteriorate. However, my biggest concern is that I would challenge everyone who presented here today to go get a lawn chair, get their lunch, sit on Harrison Avenue and see what the reality of the traffic is on that road. I do not see anywhere that if you have 215 units and you have 2 people in every unit, you have 430 additional people. If you have 3 residents, you have 645. If you have 4 residents per unit, you have 860. Harrison Avenue cannot accommodate the traffic that it has now. 2-hour parking for the Long Island Railroad. I have people constantly loitering in front of my house, throwing garbage on the street. I'm constantly having to chase people away, and we don't have this gigantic building. Somebody has to revisit the Harrison Avenue entrance for the residents, UPS, the garbage. It is an impossibility for that tiny road and all of the residents, and there are other people here that live on Harrison, to even conceptualize how that is going to happen. So I think that while I am very excited about the project, I am terrified over the impact it's going to have on Harrison Avenue. So I wonder, do I need to leave an extra 45 minutes to go to work every day because I will not be able to get off of my street? You have Dunkin' Donuts across the street. I'm sure the owner of Dunkin' Donuts will be thrilled over the increase in revenue. But does he live in Baldwin? Is he going to have to come down Harrison Avenue? You have the police station on the other end of Harrison and Merrick. The police come flying down the road all day long. Cars never stop at that stop sign on Bixby Drive and Harrison right now. I anticipate a veritable nightmare. And I think that that needs to be the #1 thing that needs to be addressed, is that entrance onto Harrison Avenue. Figure out a way to get it on Grand Avenue, figure out a way to get it someplace else. But I think that the residents on Harrison Avenue deserve the respect, that we're homeowners, we take care of our property, we take pride in our community, and I will not want to live there if I have to deal with that traffic on that road every day.
Appreciate you coming down and raising your concerns, so thank you. Susan Ruick? No? Okay.
What is jacket?
Kelly Castanil?
LAC.
Hi, Kelly Duggan Costabile, 2315 Harrison Avenue. My questions do regard parking. Also, could you please explain where that entrance is going to be, possibly like in relation to where Dunkin' Donuts is, or where the electrical outlets are going to be, just so I can, because I'm only a few doors down. So from my home, I could probably see the entire building.
So, why don't you go up to the mic and address your concerns? Thank you.
So the main entrance is just directly north of the South Nassau office building that has an ingress and an egress driveway on Harrison Avenue. It would be just north of the ingress driveway. So literally the southeast corner of the subject property.
Right, and then there's also a vacant lot.
The vacant lot is 110 feet south.
And is that where the driveway is going to be, to go down?
So on the approximately 60 by 100 lot, the only thing that's proposed there is 12 surface parking spaces. It does not have access to the main parcel on Southern Side.
Okay, so those are additional visible on the street?
On grade, yeah.
Okay. The next question would be in terms of, are you naive to think that of those 215 units, that there's only going to, that 282 parking spaces are going to be adequate? Because the reality is most households do have more than one car. Are you going to limit that? And then where is that overage going to happen? I am excited about this project as well. Could we consider more underground parking that's not visible, if we have to increase that. And then additionally, how would this affect people on Harrison Avenue? Our property taxes, are we subject for increases? Might we be able to have a courtesy for a reduction in our property taxes, especially during all the construction portion of it? And I am concerned, again, with traffic because, as you said, Mr. Flavin, Grand Avenue was proposed to go down to a one-lane traffic, which to me sounds crazy, since that is Baldwin's main thoroughfare. And it already, if that's going to happen, where Harrison Avenue is going to be the likely street that people are going to go down. So if there's a way for us to just pivot, try and think of alternatives, maybe go the opposite way, not just to Harrison, maybe go up and around Central. What can we do? There's got to be ways for us to, let's think positively, think smart, and try to get everybody on the same page to get this to happen, because Baldwin is blight, and we do need something to happen. Or otherwise, it could be considering something in between without assuming that the bonus density is taken. So something between 1.5 and 1.91. I don't know.
Again, I appreciate coming in. I'm going to let them respond. I do appreciate the fact that you want to see development, but there is the concern about the traffic. And Ms. Caggiano, has the county given you the plans of exactly what they plan to do on Grand Avenue with this calming they intend to do?
They have not.
Okay, and this is just, I think that's something we have to bring to the table with the county. Like I said, I was recently down there, and I hate to say that, to travel 2 block, right, it took me almost 15 minutes. And that is a concern for me.
It's a concern for everybody, and I'm hearing that from the residents too, that the traffic is an issue. Our engineers are going to work on it with the county, and I also want to say, it is a TOD, so we don't expect each unit to have 2 cars. We do expect a lot of empty nesters and millennials, mostly to live there and commute to Manhattan. But taking that into consideration, I agree with you. We need to work together with all the engineers at the county, our own team, the town Hempstead, and we'll come up with the best possible solution for the community.
I don't know when the county came up with this calming effect, but I don't know if they really were thinking it out with the potential of development on Grand Avenue, because we have a lot of different projects that potentially go there. And it's a legitimate concern that we don't want the other streets to become, the mini Grand Avenue.
Right, exactly.
So that I would appreciate maybe even setting them up, a meeting with our engineering and Nassau County, asking them to be realistic and relook at this, at what they're doing down there. And again, that kind of goes back to my initial point about your team looking at a way or mechanism to divert traffic when it's a circle. You know what? To push it north onto Sunrise Highway, because this is definitely going to be, and I knew this was going to be the concern with residents who are already seeing, high traffic going through it, that they're going to be even more concerned that with these cars coming in, everyone's going to try and use it as a cut through to avoid it. So that's something I think your team has to kind of look at.
I agree. I think the county will have to revisit it, and we'll definitely bring all of their concerns from today to them and let them know before you start any project, you should look at this.
And I would say to any of the residents, again, Ms. Caggiano, I know you appreciate this, I'm going to ask you, maybe you could give out cards to everybody. So that would be great. That's a big thing, is about talking directly and sending those emails, just because, like I said, what you're saying, you're supportive of it, but you have legitimate concerns, and we have to, kind of delicate balance of the whole thing, and we want to make it livable, but I love the fact that, but you're also passionate about seeing some real great things happening in Baldwin, so I appreciate you following up with her as well. Thank you.
No problem.
We're going to keep it to 3 minutes. Sorry.
Let's talk about the power lines. Is it going to be from Sunrise Highway to Merrick Road throughout the whole street on Harrison, or only? I'm
going to let Miss, you know what, this is my question, this is a good question. Hey, about those power lines that are going to be going down there, is that Is that just in that general vicinity of a corner, or is it a different area?
It's just the 3 poles that are along the subject property's frontage on Harrison Avenue.
Okay, all right. That was a good question.
In addition to the poles on Sunrise, sorry.
Okay. Next I have Patricia Norbetta.
No comment.
No comment? Okay. Kenny George? Is the fire somewhere? Gina Rodway? Rodway? Good afternoon, Ms. Rodway. Please give your name and address. That'd be awesome.
Good afternoon. My name is Gina Rodway, and I'm at 2339 Harrison Avenue. And basically, I'm in agreement with the issue of density and the issue of congestion. There is the police department going down there. There is the school bus going down there. There is the South Nassau parking lot right next to this particular project, also going down there. Of course, my concern is that Harrison Avenue is too small a street for anything to survive going down that street. No one will ever make it to any of the other sides of that street. No one will ever make it to Merrick Road, and no one will ever make it to Sunrise. And as far as density is concerned, at this particular point in time, we do have people walking off of the railroad and walking down the street. I see in my mind a whole bunch of people walking down the street on Harrison Avenue. I just see congestion. And I really would appreciate if we could get together and talk about this. I love it. I think it's wonderful. That one issue is what's bothering me.
Thank you. You're loud and clear, and I thank you for coming down. I appreciate the exchange with Ms. Capistrano right now. Next, I have Eric Muller.
Good morning, Board. Good afternoon, I should say. Eric Muller, 1030 Merrick Road, Baldwin, New York. I just prepared a little bit something for notes because a lot of stuff is spinning through my head. I can't believe we're finally here after a lot of empty promises, as previous individuals have said. Been a lifelong resident, 12 years as Chamber of Commerce president. I fortunately had someone take over last fall, and now I'm back to it after a 2-month hiatus and moved to beautiful Florida. But I'm extremely familiar with downtown revitalization, especially Baldwin. I've been promised this since 1998 through various administrations, from a Tom Swazi bus ride through the blighted Grand Avenue to other photo ops and promises of other elected town and county officials. But nothing has ever been delivered. This is not, obviously, I've grown up here my entire life. I would love it to be a 1- or 2-story building, but that's not the reality of the situation. We are blessed to have such an amazing developer come to Baldwin and willing to invest over $100 million into this blighted community that I call home and many others call home. The reality is we don't have anyone else knocking on the door. I'd love to be picky. I'd love to be able to have pipe dreams and bike lanes and all this other stuff that we talk about, but that's not the reality. The reality is we have someone ready to break ground, ready to invest in the future of Baldwin and downtown, and we desperately need help in Baldwin. The Baldwin Chamber of Commerce is 1,000% behind this development. When it was first initially presented, we went out in front of Gallifresh, and in the first day we got 300 signatures just in a 2-hour window when we presented the proposed project. That was just a couple of hours of volunteer time, not paid. We did an online petition, we got several hundred within the first week, and that was a year or 2 ago. I just presented Mr. Orwasher another 250 that I had sitting in my office that I just happened to find. These are active individuals in the bowling community that want this development project. We expect, as a chamber, an increase in customers, an increase in revenues. The fact that the Breslin Realty Company is going to turn an ugly, vacant, weed-filled storage of cars, which are illegally there for years, and maybe a polluted lot, into a gorgeous, modern, well-designed economic machine. We implore the town board to definitely, without hesitation, move forward on this project. I understand the concerns of Harrison Avenue residents. I have a lot of friends on Harrison Avenue. There may be opportunities not only of the police actually enforcing the law of speeding, blowing through the stop sign at Bixby, which I'm guilty of as well, but that's the reality of it. This is for the greater good of Baldwin, and I would, there we go. I want you.
You got it down in almost 3 minutes.
Yep.
Listen, you've been coming down for a long time doing it. We understand your support of it, and we hear you loud and clear. And like I said, you've always been passionate with the chamber, so we'll keep everybody in the loop. And like I said, you're not a shy guy. That's all I'll put about you, all right? I mean, the nicest way. Next, I'm going to bring up Jack Raker.
He spoke, he's the architect, so.
Oh, okay, I was going to say. Okay, he's from Baldwin, good friend. Victor Suducchio? How'd I do? Come on, man, be nice, will you? All right, can you give the proper pronunciation of your last name and address?
Hi, good afternoon, board. My name is Victor Suducchio, and I'm a Baldwin resident, 710 Foxhurst Road. I'm also a Baldwin business owner. I own Park Asset Real Estate Corp on Grand Avenue. And I also own real estate on Grand Avenue, mixed-use buildings. So I'd just like for it to go on record that I'm in full support of the Breslin Development Project. Our downtown area is distressed, and this project will beautify our town with a modern design. I believe many of our residents raised good questions today in reference to the traffic on Harrison. And I think a good suggestion would be maybe considering making that into a one-way. I'm not a traffic expert, but I think that would be a good suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming down, Victor. Next I have, Gina, I already called you, they had you down there twice. That's okay. Walter Sieber. But he might be with you. Gotcha. Next I have Stephen Greenfield.
This might pass. He's not
Steve Greenfield, 2336 Harrison Avenue. I guess I'm a new person. I've only been involved with downtown development for 10 years and met with 2 other developers and met with the Breslin folks early in the process. I'm here speaking on behalf of myself and my wife. We're under the impression that this project would be capped at 200 units after we had some negotiation with the developer. And I would like to encourage the board to keep that limit. Going up to a larger number just adds to the stress on the community. I do like the design. I'm in favor of the project. I too have concerns about traffic all coming onto Harrison. My particular concern is that when you come out of the underground parking and make a left turn, people will be held up by the people at the Dunkin' Donuts, and they'll wind up being in the left lane, and anyone turning right, you've got a potential accident situation. So the suggestion of making Harrison one way may make some sense. I don't know. I would like to request that the Baldwin community, the Civic Association, be involved in the determination of how the community benefit is utilized, the $250,000 that was mentioned. And just a suggestion to the developer that I have heard no mention about bicycle storage, but I think if we want to encourage less car ownership. It would be good if there were some secure bike storage, so people aren't hauling their bikes up an elevator. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. Next, I have Karen Montalbano.
Yeah, I know the person. Heard her speaking a lot.
My name is Karen Montalbano. I live at 2611 Park Avenue, Baldwin. I am the government liaison for Baldwin Civic Association. I want you to know that the BCA has always wanted to see this property developed. We'd like to see this project done. We have written a letter of support from the Baldwin Civic Association in support of the 200 units that had been discussed originally. I appreciate the comprehensive presentation today. It has answered many of my questions. We had some discussions with the developer, and they have taken into account widening the sidewalks, burial of wires, which sounds great. Look forward to see what we can do with the $250,000. I thank you for that. As for the Grand Avenue thing, I'll just add that that is a Grand Avenue Complete Streets project, or Baldwin Grand Avenue Complete Streets project. It is currently, you're in the construction phase, so of course there has been some problems with backup. You're looking for it. The project should be online. You could always go to Nassau County and ask them. I'm sure Legislator Deborah Muley can give you all of the answers to that. She has been working closely on that, as have I. It's funded partly by New York State, and that is where the calming aspects come in. So anybody is looking for that information, I would suggest you go there.
Hey Karen, just a quick question. Did they take it into account the development, any development when they started that?
At that point, there was no Baldwin overlay zone, there was no,
Okay.
except that one of the things about calming that traffic, it will be helpful to the businesses along. There are studies that show that traffic calming helps local businesses.
No, I'm not speaking, I was just wondering if they had taken into account this project, that's all. So that's fine.
It was not on the books when this project, when the Complete Streets was formed and done.
Yeah, they're in the process now of doing a street calming project in Island Park. And similarly, it is supposed to help the local businesses along the corridor to have the traffic slow down. I was just wondering, because I don't know off the top of my head, is it similar to Austin Boulevard where they're increasing either a southbound or northbound lane and decreasing one or the other?
Okay, so the way that this is designed is that as you cross Merrick Road, it will come up to 4 lanes across Merrick Road, 1 lane north, 1 lane south with a dedicated turning lane from where the lanes narrow down to Sunrise Highway, where once again, it will widen out to 4 lanes going across Sunrise Highway on both sides, narrowing down to, once again, the 1 lane north, 1 lane south with a dedicated turning lane until you get to Milburn.
So very similar to Island Park. And then the middle, are they doing a median in the middle?
No, it's a turning lane.
Okay, so the whole middle is a turning lane?
Yes.
Got it, okay. So somewhat similar minus the median.
That would alleviate the north-south flow of having to wait for somebody to turn.
Right, and then are they doing the cutouts along the curb for cars to park?
Yes.
Sort of on a combat parking?
The reason what they're doing is they have some bump outs that will make it shorter for people to actually cross Grand Avenue.
So you're not
putting bump outs by the library. I think there's going to be a bump out a little bit further north in some areas. But where the fire department is, nothing is being changed so that they can have the complete turnaround that they need to get in and out of access to that fire station.
All right, yeah, so it's very similar to Island Park. Okay.
Thank you.
Discussion on, when you guys did your study, did you guys take into account the county's changes to Grand Avenue? Have you guys been in contact with the county about this?
I can take that. So just as a point of background, our purview here was really to compare our project against the finding statement and the draft and the generic EIS that was already done for the entire district. That EIS and the finding statement do identify mitigation that's required at a number of intersections throughout Baldwin. So we're not saying that this project and others will not require mitigation. that mitigation is already identified. We're just trying to look at the difference between what the EIS may have considered versus traffic with the density bonus provision.
I guess, but I'm saying, like, so when you were putting it all together, did you know about this calming and the turning lanes and all that when you were making the determinations on some of the aspects of the traffic flow and or the development of it?
Well, with respect to this particular site, again, because we're proposing the access on Harrison, we're not really generating traffic on Grand.
Yeah.
So it is a separate project along the frontage, but it doesn't relate to traffic.
My only concern is with a calming on Grand that it's going to create a non-calming on Harrison, and then you tie this in. So I'll just ask that maybe after this, Ms. Cacignano and her team sit down with the county to make sure, you know, how this is going to affect the long term. Like I said, because obviously the county started this calming effect before we had this the development coming down. And so I just want to, if they're going to do it all, they should really kind of make it cohesive, that it kind of makes sense. So Ms. Cacignano, I will again reiterate the fact I think we need to sit down with the county after this too.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to do that, no question. And as I was talking to Karen, she feels that while they were doing the GGIS, they may have already taken into account the Complete Streets project.
Right.
So we'll also talk to VHB, who's here as well, and discuss it with them. And we've already met with DPW on this project, letting them know. But we have many more meetings, you know, that have to happen.
Grateful for that. Now I got a couple of, might be your people. I got David Orswa.
David Orwasher's ours.
Right. David Tepper.
Ours.
You got Rebecca. You got Barry Nelson. He's definitely. Rich Pavone.
He is available for any questions regarding fire safety.
Okay. Okay. Now that completes the number of people who I have a record that has signed in to talk about this. Is there anybody that has not been heard that would like to speak on this matter? I'd ask you to raise your hand. Sure, if you go to the back and identify yourself and give your name and address.
Good afternoon, Marcia D. Thierry, Merrick, New York. I'm all for revitalization, but I'm also an environmentalist. And living in the town of Hempstead, any main road you're on, you know it's going to be bumper to bumper. So my concerns are pollution. I don't see any, historically, when a building was built, there were trees, there was green space, and the town actually proposed budget talking about being a green community. Did anyone ever think about solar panels to reduce electric, water conservation, bringing in mature trees to offset flooding? If you have cement, there's going to be floods there. So any conservation would benefit the people as well as the community. So you have to look at long-term, not just for today. And also with the windows, I don't think many people think about this, but bird strikes, you don't want dead birds all over the sidewalk because there's glass that they don't see. They're going to fly into it and break their necks. So anti-bird strike stickers are another option.
Ms. Cacignano, maybe you want to talk to any initiatives, green initiatives you intend to have in the complex?
Yeah, I'll bring up Jack. He can discuss those initiatives.
Yeah, we have a number of green initiatives that we were utilizing in the building. I think it was spoken about, we have a green roof structure on the one end of the building that we're utilizing to mitigate some of the stormwater. And then inside the building, we have a number of green initiatives. Every unit has a programmable thermostat. So that if they're not in their unit and they go away on vacation or whatever, they can set that temperature lower and reduce, their energy consumption. We also do low flow water fixtures and LED light fixtures throughout the project. So that reduces a lot of energy consumption as well. And then there's a number of we have some green space up in that courtyard area. It's not a green infrastructure, but it's outdoor area that is not seen obviously from some of these perspectives that you're seeing up on the walls there.
Now taking a look at your photo up there, if I remember correctly, you'll If I'm wrong, you can. I don't think there are any trees or bushes on that corner at all right now. I do see from your rendering there, you're actually planting a number of green in front of it to abut it if there is an offset on it. Am I correct about that?
That is true. All those landscapes, the landscaping shown in the renderings is coordinated with our landscape drawings.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you very much. I do not, okay. See, the deputy supervisor wanted to know if you're going to put any charging stations in there.
Yes, 6 EV stations.
During the course of the presentation, we did discuss that 6 EV charging stations would be included in the surface parking south of the site on Harrison at the request of the local fire department, who basically asked us to not include those within the building footprint.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you very much. All right, anybody else that did not sign in that wishes to be heard on this? You okay? You've taken these part of the program. All right. With that, I'm going to, before we make any motion here, I am going to ask you to follow up with the residents. It was a very thorough presentation. I think, you know what, we find a lot of interest in the fact that removing the poles visually, aesthetically can be beautiful. I love the fact you want to work with making sure we're doing branding. I do have concerns about, the fact of this calming was put into effect prior to, so I think it's really time of the essence to kind of get the county in here to make sure that they're not doing something that's actually going to make this more difficult, especially if it's ever approved with construction. And I really think you should make a hard sell on this red light camera thing.
Well,
I got to tell you, I can, a couple people are shaking their heads. Listen, I'm telling you, I could see if there was ever approval on this and there was backup, everyone's going to go bananas. The people are very thoughtful now about the red light cameras. We all stop 10 minutes, early so we don't get it. But I can see this being a really potential issue for the residents down there who are just trying to get south to go to the good stores and restaurants on Merrick Road or north up on Grand Avenue. Any closing comments?
We agree with your comments, and the developer, as you can tell, has taken every painstaking detail into account and will continue to work with all the municipal agencies to make this the best project it can be for Baldwin. That's what we want to do. We want to be known for the catalyst for this downtown area, to make sure it's improved the best that it can be, and we will definitely keep talking to DPW and discuss those projects in terms of the traffic, and we'll also reach out again to the neighbors and the residents who are here today, among those that we've already reached out to. And we thank you for your time, and my team is very thankful, that this project, is maybe coming to light soon.
I mean sincerely, that was absolutely one of the best presentations we've had in the town. It's very, very thorough, so we appreciate that. And I know a lot of the residents appreciate you coming down and making it. They've had a lot of questions. With that, I'm going to ask if there is a motion, Deputy Supervisor.
Yes, I move the public hearing be adjourned and open until the town board meeting on November 22, 2022 at 10:30 a.m. when the board will consider the CEQA aspect of this application.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Greenie.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Guzman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Just so any of the residents who came down here will know, we've left the hearing open until November 22nd. That means that you can, not any of you spoke already, no, I'm teasing you. You can ask your friends and neighbors to come down on the 22nd, and or they can submit any sort of emails or letters that will be taken into consideration and made part of the record. With that, I want to say thank you for all the residents who came down, and now I'm going to ask our town clerk to call the next item.
We have a decision calendar. The first decision is the application of Janton Realty LLC for a variance from the provisions of the GSS ordinance to add a canopy over an existing pump island, convert service space to a convenience store, and operate a self-service in Merrick.
May I have a motion?
I move the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Greenie.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Guzman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item on the decision calendar.
Yes, the second and last decision involves the application of Bowler Operating Long Island Corporation for a variance from the provisions of GSS District for a permit to operate self-service and a convenience store at an existing gasoline service station shall be raised and rebuilt, to modify and rescind restrictive covenants, and to modify a previously approved site plan in Levittown.
Do I have a motion?
I move the board adopt the item.
Second motion.
Supervisor Clayman.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller. Councilman Musgrove.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, I hope you'll indulge me. With regard to clarity and transparency, with regard to items 6, 7, and 8, there were some questions as to the procedure. So at this time, I would ask you that you keep these hearings open and schedule them for November 22nd at 10:30 a.m. And continue those hearings, keep them open so that we'll have the experts here in order to explain to the general public, based upon the fact that these are special districts, that in order for us to move forward, we have to have these public hearings. So I'd ask you to do that.
I appreciate it for a motion of clarity and people get a better understanding. Okay?
So Supervisor, I make a motion that items 6, 7, and 8 remain open and will be heard again at the November 22nd? November 22nd Town Board meeting.
I second the motion.
Supervisor Clayman.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Thank you.
What I'm going to do, I don't know if they're going to let me talk on the budget, but I'm going to ask a question until I stop. And then I'm going to have my statement, which is going to be miscellaneous, which is going to be... Well, the thing is, it has to do with more, you know. So this is
when I ran out to my car, they came up, but I'm just the person is.
They didn't talk about the birds. They didn't talk about the solar power.
They didn't talk about anything.
Well, they talked about the fact that they're gonna.
Something on the roof.
Yeah, but that's not real.
Not environmental.
Well, they said something. That's not gonna. Yeah. See, if you looked at the budget. This is the 2023 budget. Whatever is the actual expense always comes in 18 months after, before they order it out. So this happened already. 3,100,000. The budgeted amount, this is amended budget amount, is 2.2 million. No, that's for 2022.
Yeah, that's this year.
Okay, that's this year. But yeah, actually, I'm making a mistake. Okay, the adopted budget. 2021, because we want to compare 2021 to 2021.
That's what they
proposed 2 million,
and it came out
3.1 million, right? That's reality. See, because when you see budget like this, put the word yes.
Right, because how do they know?
Yeah. They
need to it should be less.
But the thing is that they and then what happened was
what happened with your daughter? Is she good with that? The 2 minor, 5-year-olds, the ones that are in medical cannabis?
They're going to talk about it.
Where is she living?
I'm starting to. That's going to live with us.
Oh, so you're getting more.
But she wanted to adopt a blind cat that
died.
But this is what happened in 2020. This was done by Lori Young before she left. This was 1.35 million for 2020.
And in actuality,
and in 2020. Well, in 2020, I don't think I didn't get that one. But what happened in 2020 was they blew past this 1.35 million by May 2020.
And what?
Sending over emails. everybody knew about it. You couldn't find anybody else, couldn't find radio, you couldn't read any newspaper without learning where you should go and where you could go. And to do targeted areas which help it's just too stupid. It's just too stupid. Yeah, this is just more people in the county sending it than every councilman does, right? Every councilman there. Then every legislator, they send a letter out about Cleveland, the shots.
Do you read the around the email? Was the first email I got where it actually made listen to me. It was about the adoption program.
If they've had that,
never on the around the town. I never seen it.
Maybe not that, but they've had that for years. And that's always been.
Yeah, but I never see anything. You know, why don't you advertise the article?
Well,
and you see these
anybody. I saw your thing. Anybody who wants an animal, there's plenty of animals. Part of the problem is advertising. I'm not sure.
You need to show over 250 animals for adoption at the shelter, lingering in these cages.
I said that. I know, but it's just I'm absolutely concerned. Like, I'm going to be going on number 8.
Well, I have to understand that because I was and Diane and I said, what's the point?
Did this.
Politician.
But no, very good.
He's believable.
He's believable in the sense that Santino did.
You knew he was lying. He's a jerk. I knew it. Yeah, I wasn't involved. Right. She used to walk out because she was so upset about
He's No, but once again, I met him. I got a picture of him and me. He's had his hand on 2009. I went to Franklin Square Library and I started questioning the government. So I went to one of his seminars. I remember this is how I knew he was a problem. And I know about what about the special district tax? Right away, you know what he does? Stop. Talking about special district taxes. What they do, what they're doing here, is what a district. This is tax decreases. Yeah, but the thing is, these are special districts. What they do, and it's a trick. They did it in my part. I live in a special district. The town controls special district as opposed to the independent special district that has its own board. It has its own board. My sanitation district has its own board. The town could audit them and they have no control directly. So what do you do with the park special district?
You don't have your own sanitation.
No, I have sanitation district 6. Which is a special district.
But do you have your own sanitation department or you use town house?
No, you use it's a special district. Independent special district.
Meaning you have your own sanitation department.
But it's not just for Franklin Square, they serve like 5 communities.
All right, I thought the town of Hempstead served everyone unless it was incorporated.
No, people don't know that.
No, I didn't.
But the thing is, with the special districts, like my Franklin Square Park district, in 2003, my budget for my special district was like $2 million. By 2008, it jumped to $4 million.
That's 5 years.
I got one little damn park in my neighborhood. Grant Park, that's it. That's my entire thing. And we have a lot.
I thought you said it took on other districts.
No. Listen to me. A special park district. I have a Franklin Square Park district. It's Draft Park. And then there's a lot with some swings on it. That's it. And they double. If they double, and if you look at the budget, first of all, you can't try to look at the budget. I call it so many times. There is no budget. All the money is administrative charge. When you ask for the distribution of administrative charge, you can't get it. And a lot of the money goes to the supervisor's department. The majority, the minority, town control. And this is the way to raise taxes without raising taxes. See, when Clayton took office, they had to raise taxes from the Hempstead water district. To do the what do you call it, dioxin on 4, right? So he raised taxes. It was on the budget. It was in the public hearing. And I go, you raising taxes? And you go to the video, and Clayton is the master of manipulating. It's not a tax increase. It's a tax increase. You're raising it for a purpose. Yes, it's to do the water, but there's no accountability for how it's spent. So what they do is they raise $100 per household. If there's any change, it comes back into the drain. There's no, and then it's a slush fund. You understand that these special districts are slush funds. Since it's the money.
Did anything change? You just exposing. You're not changing.
Well, the problem is that Newsday, like you told Newsday about, the Herald about it. They won't talk about it, right?
Yeah. Herald America was going to get back to me. After Scott Britton left, the editor.
Scott Britton is terrible.
Oh, I liked him, Scott Britton. Oh, he was a big environmentalist, and he really took it to heart. Everything that I said, and he published it.
But I'll tell you Scott Britton. Scott Britton, so when I ran for office in 2015, I interviewed him for 2 days while I was in part of my process. And he goes, why do you want to do that? I go, ethics. That was the first thing I said. What does he write in the paper? He goes, the environment and the budget. Meanwhile, I showed how Kate Murray reserves over the years. I had a stack of paper. I went to the meeting with a stack of paper. This time, how many emails in there? And I went through how they had all these reserves, and she spent it. And he didn't write any of that. I wrote how increased taxes 49% in Virginia. He didn't write that. Everything I wrote, I told him. No, because if you look at the Herald, all the candidates for office, state candidates, whatever, these candidates, they take ads for thousands of dollars an ad. Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy 4th of July, $3 ads. And they spend thousands of dollars on ads for the Herald. What is the Herald going to do? Write an nasty story about their...
It's just maps.
Except for their breadwinners? They're the breadwinners.
He wrote one of my articles. He sent people...
Well, he's going to buy an envelope.
Yeah.
He's not going to do it. What he won't do...
He's not there anymore.
But he won't do any accountability. He won't write the article about taking out
You're talking about money. I'm talking about the environment.
No, I'm
not pointing fingers.
I'm talking about the environment. The amount of paper that I had an analysis. How much water it takes to make the paper? Millions of gallons of water.
Use recycled paper.
It doesn't matter. The printing, all the slots. People write anything. He's fully slick.
Because you're very detailed and there's so much that you can
No,
only...
I summarized it. No, it wouldn't be this long. No, he didn't.
The new editor doesn't even get that.
But look, if you went in the paper, I don't read it anymore. At least some you'd see Kate Murray's picture on it. Happy Christmas, happy.
What channel?
They all take ads. Right now, the town is right now the town has a contract with communication to print their big mailings. $1 million contract with communications. So they get all those big mailings you get, they outsource it to communications that owns the Yeah. So are they going to write anything negative? No.
You should just tell the truth.
No, that's negative. That's negative stuff. The truth is negative stuff. They're not going to write negative stuff. I would go here, in my school district, I'd just rattle off facts. And they go, why are you so negative? So just, this is how much the budget went up since I moved in here. This is how much salary.
All right, well, continuation of the town board meeting. Madam Clerk, please call the administrative calendar.
So just before I do, just want to make for the record that I gave each town board member and the deputy supervisor and the supervisor a letter with regard to the Baldwin project, a letter from Nassau County regarding the sewer situation, and a letter from the Baldwin Fire Department.
Okay, and then we'll make that part of the record. That's a letter dated September 27, 2022 from Kenneth Arnold.
Yes.
Oh, hold on, there's another one underneath that as well. From the fire department dated September 28, 2022 from Brian Thomas, chief of the department. We will make that part of the record as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now we have, of course, the administrative calendar. There are items 12 through 47 on that calendar. I also have one item that is of an emergency or urgent nature. It's entitled a resolution declaring the town of Hempstead the lead agency for secret purposes regarding the application of Baldwin Jazz LLC CO of Breslin Realty Development Corporation. So this emergency resolution will be added to the calendar as item number 48.
Mr. Supervisor, the last hearing, that you've expressed to me the urgency, well, not the urgency, but the belief that we need to move the Baldwin project in which we had that extensive hearing on. So this is a housekeeping issue. As you're aware, Mr. Supervisor, there was extensive secret review done 3 years ago, in 2019, when the zoning was changed. So this is a housekeeping item that we'd like to put on for the next meeting.
Okay. Any other items, Mr. Town Attorney?
No, Your Honor. No.
Sure.
Oh, I do. I apologize. With regards, Mr. Supervisor, with regards to items 31 and 32, I'd ask at this time that they be tabled so my office can review them with the department heads.
Are you moving the table items 31 and 32, Deputy Supervisor? Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Padrón.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
And Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Okay, before we make a motion on the rest of the administrative calendar, I do have a couple of slips in. First, we'll start with Bonnie Brown.
Good afternoon, Bonnie from Rocco Center. The first one is quick. Item 22, this is authorizing the IT department to dispose of certain equipment, which is supposed to be listed on the attached Schedule A, but there is no Schedule A. So I think before this is passed, there has to be a list of exactly what equipment you're authorizing to be discarded.
Hold on there. In a second, it's not back up. We'll get yelled at that. Dashing up to the front of the room now is our IT commissioner. Thank you very much. If you could identify yourself.
Yeah, hi, Audie Grimm, Commissioner of IT. Yeah, we had that filled out. I don't know where it is. I will make sure we get it to the clerk.
Post it online, and maybe we'll provide a copy of this to her as well. Is that okay?
Great, thank you. Okay. Item 35, this is an agreement with H2M Architects and Engineers to do some work for the Merrick Friendship Engine and Hose Company Firehouse. And my question is, it says that the Department of General Services received and reviewed a proposed agreement from H2M. How was H2M selected?
Identify yourself, thank you.
Deputy Commissioner DGS. The reason the town board decided to go with H2M, the Merrick Fire Department was working with them hand in hand in designing the firehouse at the cost of the Merrick Fire Department, and then the town passed the resolution back in January for the $12 million to build it.
But how were they selected to do the work? That's my question.
before the town even was involved, the Merrick Fire Department hired them with their own funds to design the firehouse.
I see, thank you. And that's it. I guess my next question was on item 32. Thank you.
You take care. I'm sure we're going to hear from you in a couple minutes. Next I have Felix Percacci. Good afternoon, name and address for the record.
Felix Percacci, Franklin Square. Number 38, the tentative budget. How much reserve funds are being used?
Mr. Percacci, this isn't a hearing budget today. We've submitted the budget and we'll be voting on it. And as you've been doing for over a decade, you'll be down here asking these questions.
Yeah, you used to talk about this when I first started, but then I started talking about this, and then that's why you stopped.
No, I've only been supervisor for like 3 years.
But now I'm talking about in 2012 is when they stopped.
I was a receiver of taxes, so I can't tell you how they did things back then. All I can tell you is we submitted a budget, and we're going to have a, listen, I like you, and this is a fun time with me, but we're going to have a budget hearing, and you are no stranger to coming down to our budget hearings.
Well, let's put it this way. I oppose this budget hearing because you're only offering 1 day.
No, we're not having a budget hearing today.
No, you're only offering 1 day on October 19th.
And it's a day and a night meeting, right?
So I object to this resolution, today's resolution, because you're only offering 1 day. In your village that you live in,
that's how they all do it. No, it doesn't matter where I live. What are you going to dox me? Listen, here's my company. This is how it's always been done. You submit it, and then you have a day and a night meeting for the budget. It's been done this way for decades.
I understand that.
Okay.
And I objected to it many times. So I'm objecting to this, the calling of the hearing, which I'm allowed to do, because I'm not talking about the budget. I know the rules. It's the Felix rule. It started in 2012. And
what's the Felix rule?
The Felix rule is you can't talk on calling of hearings. I thought before that you were able to talk on calling of hearings in 2011, but then Kate Murray formed this rule after I started talking about it.
I don't know, I've never heard that in my entire life for Felix
Now you
rule.
know.
And I'm totally gonna, I love it.
We have several rules. My name on it. But anyway, I object to having only 1 day because it doesn't give ample opportunity. Somebody who works the afternoons will not be able to make this either hearing. And also, in the village you live in, they have 4 budget workshops prior to the budget hearing.
I gotta be honest with you. I think in 2019, actually, we did the 2 hearings, and then I think we was adjourned to another date. They had another date on it.
Well, that's because they were screwing around with Laura Gillen and trying to screw her up, so they kept on changing things. But you still only could talk on one of them. That was when they were trying to mess Gillen up. That was why you had.
That's not true, Felix. We were just trying to lower taxes while she wanted to raise
kept on
taxes.
changing things constantly. I think you had 4 or 5 continuations. It was a bunch of nonsense you did. Anyway, you should have multiple hearings, budget workshops, just like they do in the Village of Garden City. They have 4 budget workshops to give residents an opportunity to talk about the budget before the budget is even presented. That's the Village of Garden City. I never see you at your meetings in your own village. You should come once in a while. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. I think my village does a great job.
They do a great job, better than you do. Better than you
They do a
do.
great job, and we're presenting
Better than you do.
Thank you very much. Next I have Jason Orico.
Yeah, I told you about that.
Jason? Well, Jason is coming from Kings Park. So I do not have any other slips. Is there anybody else here that wishes to be heard that is not spoken?
Can I ask
Hold on, I didn't finish your rules yet. Is there anybody else who wishes to be heard in the administrative calendar that is not signed in? I ask you to go to the back and identify yourself with your name and address.
Marcia D. Thierry, Merrick, New York. Can I make a statement on number 38? I don't know what the rules are. I don't want to fight with anyone.
Go right ahead. It's about the date, absolutely.
Looking at the tentative 2023 budget for the town, I was optimistic when I saw the article titled Nurturing a Love for Nature and Building for a Green Future Today. I hope prior to making the final budget that tree preservation, land conservation, a tree planting, and trimming program is included. There was nothing for trees, open space on that tentative budget. So that was my comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Anybody else? If not, may I please have a motion on the administrative calendar, with the exceptions of 31 and 32, which were tabled.
I move the administrative calendar with the exception of 31 and 32 for 12.
I didn't fight. That wasn't a fight. I just say the truth. If they don't like it, they call it criticism.
Second. It was a second.
31 and 32.
Correct. Okay, Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pazito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller. Aye. Councilman Mascarello.
Aye. Okay, now make a motion to adjourn. Make a motion. Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pazito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby. Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Mascarello.
Aye. Okay. Now that the formal town board meeting is adjourned, the town board will remain to listen to the comments of residents. We have a couple of residents who signed in to speak. First, we'll start off with Bonnie Jerome.
Still Bonnie Garone, Rockville Center. I'd like to know, and I think that residents are entitled to know, what the town board is doing regarding redistricting. This directly affects every single town resident because it determines how their representatives will be selected for the next 10 years. I've previously asked you several times about your plans for redistricting, and you have refused to give any information. It's now October, and I believe that every municipality on Long Island that has districts has either completed or is in the process of completing their redistricting process, but we've heard nothing from the Town of Hempstead Board. In Nassau County, the Town of North Hempstead and Nassau County have had public hearings, several public hearings throughout their jurisdiction to get input from residents about proposed maps before creating the final map that will be presented for approval. This board alone refuses to provide any information to residents, and apparently I assume that you're doing something, or you will have to be doing something pretty soon since we're in October, and so far anything that you have done has been done completely in secret. So I'd like to know, will you tell us today, are you going to have meetings throughout the town so that residents can give you input on what they believe should be done in redistricting? Who is going to be creating the redistricting maps? When will proposed maps be available to the public? Will you answer any of these questions?
No.
I guess you can wait until my 3 minutes expire to see if anybody will answer.
Mr. Crow, you've been doing come for a long time. We're listening to your comments. We're writing down exactly what you're saying. So.
Yes.
It's your 3 minutes. You know, it is about the opportunity to listen to your concerns.
Okay, well, I'm repeating these concerns for the third or fourth time. They're the concerns not just of me, but of all residents in this town that are affected, and you are the only municipality that has refused to give any information at all about redistricting, and I really think that that's a shame. It really is a slap in the face to every resident, and frankly, it's about time that Newsday or somebody else wrote about this, because people need to know. It's disrespectful, it's rude, and it's arrogant that you won't tell us anything about what you plan to do.
Well, Mr. Rowan, you know I'm relatively new to the town, but as the town attorney, one of my tasks, and the supervisor and I have discussed this, is moving along redistricting. And over the last couple of months that I've been here, I've been interviewing just that. An attorney, several attorneys, as well as several statisticians to do just that. It's a very, very specialized field of law. We want to make sure we do it right. We have several months left to do it, and we're in the process of reviewing the experts to make sure that we get a proper town map, which we have to get every 10 years.
And who's going to draw the map?
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. I appreciate that.
Who's going to draw the map? And will you seek input from residents before you draw the map?
The day of the meeting.
Mr. Ron, of course, we'll be complying with all rules, regulations, and laws.
Of course.
No, we're in agreement, good.
And that was sarcastic, if that didn't come through?
Did not.
Okay, well, it was sarcastic.
Well, thank you very much, and we appreciate you coming down today. Next, I'm going to call up Felix, the namesake, Bercacci of the Felix Roll.
Felix Bercacci, Franklin Square. In 2019, Supervisor candidate Don Clavin said the only town mailings should come from the receiver of taxes office. In 2019, the actual postage cost in the General Services Department was $1.9 million. In the recently published 2023 budget book, Clavin writes that his commitment to conservation extends to the functions of town government. This budget shows the Clavin administration spent $3.1 million on postage in 2021, 50% over budget. In 2023, the Clavin administration continues its hypocritical conservation policy by budgeting $3.25 million for postage, $750,000 more than the General Services Department requested. Clavin invites residents to peruse the information in the 2023 budget to learn more about the workings of government. Residents should learn more about the workings of their town government. Unfortunately, if you have any questions about the budget, you have only one chance at the October 19th meeting to ask those questions. Yes, the supervisor who wants you to learn more about government won't answer questions from his constituents during public comment, and the supervisor who criticized the mailings of the prior supervisor has increased spending on mailings by over 50%. What is necessary and missing from the 2023 budget is a pruning program to ensure the health of existing trees. Clavin is able to find an additional $1 million to send out more mailings, but no money to help the care for existing trees within the town. Even though our town supervisor is against the tree pruning program, it is possible to get this item on the October 19th meeting agenda. All that is needed is for two council members with courage who care more about trees than the supervisor's wasteful town mailings to sign off on a resolution to move $1.2 million from the general fund's postage budget to a department that will implement a tree pruning program. Yes, all we need is two council members who are willing to put the health of the town's trees ahead of the town supervisor's wasteful mailings to get this done. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Country. Yeah, I do want to remind residents that we will be having that budget hearing of the tax freeze budget on those days. Come on down to hear about the tax freeze here we're giving in the town of Hempstead with record inflation and gas prices. In addition, residents should be well aware that because of the great work of our town controller and all our esteemed commissioners on the town board, we've attained AAA bond rating, which, John, if I'm not mistaken, that is the highest bond rating available, right? So I ask residents to come on down and absolutely hear about the tax freeze and the maxed out bond grade. Next I have Mrs. Funderburg. Yes, ma'am. If you do not mind, can I ask you to respectfully go to the back and give your name and address? Thank you, ma'am.
Did I get him mad?
That way we can hear you in the mic.
Look at the way he rattled that off.
Well, it was fun.
Good afternoon. Wilhelmina Funderburg, and I reside at 156 Eastman Avenue, Roosevelt, New York. I've been there 50 plus years. First of all, I'd like to thank our representative for all the work that she has done in the village of Roosevelt, improving it, making it comfortable for us to reside there. But I have a few concerns, and one of them I came before about the 18-wheelers that have taken over our community, especially on Nassau Road. The last time I came, I guess it was about 2 months ago, there was only 2 of them stationary on Nassau Road. Now there's 3. I know that's a county road, but I was told when I was here the last time that the town was working with the county to clear this up. It haven't cleared up, it haven't improved. Like I say, now we have 3 trucks that are there on Saturdays and Sundays. Also, there's a house at 165 East Clinton Avenue that's a single family. It has 5 apartments there. I don't understand why someone isn't checking and seeing what's happening in the village of Roosevelt. I would just like for our downtown to look like our neighbor next to us, for it to look like their downtown, without the 18-wheelers, without the people out there selling fruits and vegetables on the road. Do these people have to have permits? Because, I mean, they'll just come and sit up and start selling. I don't see that any place else. And I travel all over. This is the only place I see. I mean, we want our downtown to look like our neighboring communities. So I'm just asking if we can please have that corrected so that we can enjoy our community like our neighbors enjoy their communities. And I have quite, 36 East Clinton Avenue, I can submit this list. There's a car repair shop in the yard. At 12 Cottage Road, there's a truckload of cars without tags on them, old cars, and wood flooding stacked up in the yard. These are just a few of the things.
Ms. Funderburg, I'm going to ask Danny Leo, my deputy building commissioner is right there. I'm going to ask him to verify the address of the property you said there's an illegal apartments taking place, and ask him to investigate, as well as, I don't know what you do with any of the fruit stand, if that falls in consumer affairs in Nassau County, we'll be directing there. But I'm going to ask him to take the time to take you in the back and get all this information right now. And, no problem. Danny, if you can stand up and wave. Okay? He's going to come over to you right now and go to the back with you, okay? All right. Next I have Stephanie Chase. Hi, Ms. Chase, good afternoon. Please your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Stephanie Chase. I live in Rockville Center, the Lakeview section. I would just like to thank Deputy Commissioner Ms. Gooseby. We had a cleanup, civic association, and she directed the people to help us, the sanitation department, Mr. Frederick, right away, as soon as I asked. And I'm just very grateful to her for her commitment to civil service and all she's done. I'm just thanking you on behalf of the Lakeview Civic Association and the Lakeview NAACP. Thank you so much, Ms.
Mrs. Chase, thank you. That was really nice of you to come in, and that's why we made her the deputy supervisor, because we all think she does a great job. But that was really nice of you to come in. Very nice of you. And we get a lot of complaints. When people come in to give a compliment like that, you know what? I speak for everybody where I say all the employees are very, very grateful for you doing that. It really means a lot to everybody you work with. Absolutely. Don't worry, she'll tell me later on she deserves more. Next I have Eric Moeller. He might have spoken about Baldwin, and Marcia Gutierrez.
Good afternoon again, Marcia Gutierrez, Merritt, New York. First, I just wanted to thank you in your newsletter, around the town newsletter, that I finally saw something about the adoption program at the animal shelter. Thank you for putting that in.
Somebody gives a great idea to include.
Keep it up. I hope you were able to review the email I sent you yesterday regarding tree preservation, longevity information, including our native trees living up to 1,000 years if we let them. I have a copy of it here in case you weren't able to see it. Again, looking at the tentative 2023 budget for the town, I was optimistic when I saw the article titled Nurturing a Love for Nature and Building a Green Community Today. I hope prior to making it a final budget that tree preservation, land conservation, tree planting program is included. Listening to the countless number of residents at the last meeting regarding the infrastructure, overdevelopment, and consequences Please take action, it affects all of us. There is also a $1 million increase in the postage cost from the 2022 budget, which could be reduced drastically if the town went virtual, saving countless trees. How many trees could be planted, and how many trees could be saved by being proactive, using arborists to give residents low-cost tree trimming, in addition to tree planting programs. Give residents a choice, give incentives to keep trees healthy. Don't let tree removal companies misinform residents of trees' health. Be proactive again. Tree trimming promotes healthy trees, giving people incentives to keep their trees, saving them money and saving a life. Promote programs in your around the town email. If the board really wants to be green, make it more difficult for healthy trees to be removed. Home size should fit the lot size and open space for our future. Regarding the town in Hempstead, I said that about the animal adoption. I am also asking the animal shelter director and commissioner look into the info of my many suggestions to enrich the animals and get them out of there. Over 250 animals at the shelter need enrichment. I purchase many items myself. Every additional day an animal is in a cage with no stimulation is one too many days. It's been months since I've heard from you. The orders for supplies have not been fulfilled. The money is there. Something is wrong with this picture. These innocent animals deserve better. Thank you. Can I give this to you?
Yeah, of course you can. You submit that. Well, of course we'll take it. And thank you for your email. I did read it. I do not have any of the slips. Is there anybody who has not spoken that wishes to be heard? If not, I will tell everybody to have an amazing day. Thank you all very, very much.
That was very good.